Imagine your life is just drifting away like these papers in the wind. Everything feels messy and the vibes are completely chaotic. Even the paper cranes are trying to escape the incoming drama. The sky is blue, but our girl's mood is definitely a stormy gray. Meet our heroine, Zhong Shenxiu, the pink-haired nugget who's currently being interrogated. She looks like she'd rather be literally anywhere else right now. The local gossips are swarming and demanding to know her secrets. Why do you hate the school goddess, Zuki? They sneer. Our girl is just like, ooh, who said I even hated her? In this world, if you aren't obsessed with the lead, you're the villain. Let's rewind 3 years to see how this mess actually started. Back in gym class, our girl was just trying to survive the heat. Her friend is complaining about the usual monthly struggle we all know. The teacher is being a total buzzkill about their grades and effort. Shenxiu just wants to vibe and drown her sorrows in a cold soda. She's minding her own business, living her best simple life. Suddenly, the air gets thinner and the world goes into slow-mo. It's the school beauty, Zuki, appearing like a literal angel from above. Shenxiu's brain completely short-circuits at the sight of her. The girl is breathtaking, but she looks like she's seriously struggling. Our girl is staring so hard it's actually getting a little awkward. And then the most ungraceful choke in human history happens. She's hacking up a lung while her friend tries to save her life. Zuki definitely saw that, and now Shenxiu wants to evaporate. The goddess walks away, leaving our girl in a puddle of embarrassment. Fast forward to a beautiful but crisp autumn evening. The leaves are falling, and so is our heroine's sense of peace. She spots a familiar figure leaning heavily against a tree. It's Zuki, and she looks like she's about to pass out. She's pale, trembling, and clearly in a world of physical pain. Our girl rushes over, forgetting all about her cool reputation. Zuki is barely holding it together, her face a mask of agony. She looks so fragile and vulnerable in this quiet moment. Shenxiu catches her just before she hits the hard ground. Are you okay? Talk to me, our poor heroine cries out. Our girl has officially turned into a human crutch for the goddess. Zuki is trying to be tough, but she's totally spent. Shenxiu helps her to a bench with the gentlest touch imaginable. She realizes exactly what's wrong, the dreaded monthly curse is back. Stay here, I'll be back in a flash, she says, sprinting away. Zuki is left wondering why this scary girl is being so sweet. Night falls quickly and the cold starts to bite at her skin. The poor goddess is huddled up, feeling completely alone in the dark. But wait, our girl is back and she's a literal guardian angel. She didn't just bring water, she brought a miracle for the pain. Zuki is stunned by the sudden warmth against her hands. She looks up at Shenxiu like she's seeing a hero for the first time. Our girl just gives her a savage and confident little smirk. It's warm, isn't it? Just hold on to it and feel better. They sit together in silence, the tension finally clearing between them. It's a moment of pure, unexpected peace in a chaotic school life. But of course, the shadow gossips are already watching from the trees. They think they've caught a scandalous and secret romance. What is the top student doing with an art weirdo? They whisper. Let the haters talk, our girl has a secret they'll never guess. The frog is out of the pond and the drama is just beginning. The next day, Shenxiu's friend is already on the warpath. You skipped study hall just to draw, didn't you? She accuses. Our girl just gives her a mysterious and playful maybe look. The friend snatches the sketchbook, dying to see the latest work. Fine, look if you must, Shenxiu sighs, acting all casual. The friend flips the page and her jaw hits the floor. It's a stunning, detailed sketch of the goddess Zuki herself. Our girl isn't a bully, she's the ultimate secret admirer. The friend starts a lecture about privilege and their social status. She thinks they should just stay in their own art student lane. We need to focus on our own futures to get into good schools. But Shenxiu's heart is clearly already captured by her new muse. She listens to the advice with a distant, dreamy look in her eyes. Yeah, I guess you're right, she says, but her heart isn't in it. She's done with boring study halls and following all the rules. Our nugget is ready to follow her own paths and her own heart. That summer was a total scorcher and the art room was basically an oven. The teacher tries to keep everyone focused while a new face steps up to the plate. It's our girl Zuki, looking like a literal doll as she takes her seat to model for the class. The students scramble to get their charcoal ready, but some are clearly more interested in gossiping than drawing. The sound of pencils scratching fills the room as the pressure of the upcoming exams hangs heavy in the air. Our pink-haired heroine can't help but stare, her eyes locked onto the mysterious model. There's an undeniable tension as she tries to capture every detail of Zuki's cold, unmoving expression. Of course, the local trash tier boys have to ruin the vibe by whispering about why the class is so serious today. One of them claims he's only working hard to get into art school. But the real reason, he's just a creep hoping to see some skin and his buddy is totally on board. Zuki remains perfectly still, but you can practically feel the dark aura radiating from her as she hears their disgusting jokes. The other girls in the back are over it, judging these two losers for thinking art school is just a strip club. Our savage heroine decides she's had enough and accidentally sends a bucket of dirty brush water flying right at them. The two idiots finally bolt out of the room, leaving the rest of the class to actually get some work done. With the trash disposed of, our girl picks up her pencil again, but her mind is drifting. She looks at Zuki and realizes something is deeply off about this girl. No matter what chaos happens around her, Zuki remains completely indifferent, like a statue. She sits there, arms crossed, eyes vacant, and it's honestly kind of chilling. Not a single muscle twitches as the minutes tick by. It's as if she's physically in the room, but her soul is miles away. Her expression never changes, reminding our heroine of a time they spent by the flower beds. It's like she's a beautiful object on display rather than a living, breathing person. Who is she really, and why does she feel so unreachable? We dive into a flashback, seeing two families torn apart by distance and cold shoulders. Little Zuki didn't even know when the walls around her started to build up. Even back in the choir days, she was the target of whispers, accused of only playing piano to hoard trophies. She just kept her head down, absorbing the poison of her peers without a word. At home, things weren't any better, with a mother who seemed more interested in her tea than her daughter's life. The silence in that house was deafening, a cold void where love should have been. When asked how school was, Zuki would just give the standard empty answer. Everything is fine, she'd lie while her heart was slowly turning to stone. She learned to mask her pain so well that she even started to believe her own lies. But look closely at the reflection in the cup, and you'll see a girl who's drowning in plain sight. The pressure to be a good student was like a blade hanging over her head. Eventually, she just stopped reacting entirely, curling into a ball as the world moved on without her. A layer of frosted glass began to cover her world, separating her from everyone else. She could see them, but she couldn't reach them, and they certainly couldn't reach her. This frosted barrier became her only protection, a lonely fortress of solitude. Now, looking through those same eyes, everything feels blurred and distant. She doesn't even know if this isolation is a good thing or a curse anymore. But then a splash of color breaks through the gray. She remembers that moment when the water hit the bullies, shattering her expectations. Through the cracks in her glass world, she sees her classmates' fierce, protective eyes. In a world full of people who only wanted something from her, this girl was different. She remembers being sick and hunched over, while others just gossiped about her being a top student overachiever. They mocked her for taking everything too seriously, never realizing she was actually suffering. But then our pink-haired hero appeared, stepping right into her personal bubble. Zuki was trembling, barely able to admit that she wasn't feeling well. Instead of judging her, the girl looked at her with genuine concern, asking if it was her stomach. It was a small gesture, but for someone trapped behind glass, it was everything. For the first time, Zuki felt like someone actually heard her voice. Back in the present, our heroine is struggling to keep her focus as the image of Zuki starts to fade. She feels like she's losing her ability to see the real Zuki, the glass between them thickening once again. Shenxiu is so locked in her zone that she's completely lost track of time. Her pencil is practically screaming across the paper as she tries to capture every detail. But our poor heroine is snapped back to reality when her teacher starts shouting her name. Apparently, she's been sitting there drawing for half an hour after the bell rang. Mr. Liu walks in, looking concerned that she's overworking herself. He tells her to take a break, but she insists she's totally fine. However, the mood shifts instantly when he actually looks at her canvas. He's baffled because after an hour of work, all she has is a messy, rough draft. Our girl can only whisper that she's having trouble seeing the model clearly. Mr. Liu isn't having it. The entrance exam is only 3 hours long, and at this rate, she'll fail before she even starts. He lectures her about how this is a major life event and she can't afford to hesitate. He acknowledges her raw talent, but warns her that talent alone won't get her through these cutthroat exams. Meanwhile, the model, Zuki, is having a total moment realizing that Shenxiu isn't just drawing her. She's seeing the real her. It's like she's trapped in a glass case, and Shenxiu is the only one who can see through it. She's stunned that our girl managed to capture her essence so perfectly. Looking at the sketch, it's clear Shenxiu sees the glass cover that obscures who she really is. Zuki is completely shook by this level of perception. The teacher tells Shenxiu to go home and talk to her parents about summer classes. If she doesn't catch up now, her future in art is basically over. As they pack up, the tension in the room is thick enough to cut with a palette knife. Our heroine feels the weight of the world on her shoulders as she zips her bag. But then a hand reaches out. Zuki remembers a small moment of warmth from before. That simple act of kindness made her want to stay by Shenxiu's side forever. She realizes she doesn't want to let go, so she steps up and surprises everyone. She looks at Shenxiu with those big, soulful eyes. Zuki asks the teacher if they can use the studio after hours so Shenxiu can keep practicing. She promises to leave the key on the desk when they're done. Mr. Liu agrees as long as Zuki stays as the model. He leaves the key in the door, giving our girls their own private sanctuary. Shenxiu watches him go, feeling a mix of gratitude and overwhelming pressure. Back at home, Shenxiu tries to act normal, but her mom knows something is up. She heads straight upstairs, skipping dinner, which is a total red flag for any parent. Her dad is worried the teacher called about her bullying kids again. But mom explains it's about the art school entrance exams. Dad is clearly out of the loop and has no idea what that entails. In her room, Shenxiu is restless. She grabs her things and decides she can't wait until morning to practice. She tries to sneak out, but her dad catches her at the stairs. She quickly invents a lie about going to a friend's house to play. She makes it to Jiangshui No, one middle school under the cover of darkness. Our girl is literally scaling the school walls like a ninja. She has to freeze when the security guard does his rounds with a flashlight. He thinks he hears something, but luckily she's already inside. She hides behind the curtains and sets up her easel. With a deep breath, she picks up her pencil, ready to give it everything she's got. It's go time. She works through the night, her hand moving with a life of its own. The inspiration is flowing like stardust. She's a lone figure under the studio lights, fighting for her dream. By the time she finishes, she's exhausted but proud. She's finished way ahead of schedule and checks her phone to see it's nearly 5 a.m. But the good mood vanishes when she checks the studio group chat. The seniors are talking about the insane costs of intensive training. Shenxiu is horrified to learn that half a year of classes could cost 6 figures. Back at home later, she finally works up the courage to ask her parents for their opinion. She feels small and guilty as she watches her mom work. She knows her family isn't made of money. Her mom tells her not to worry, they'll work extra shifts and serve more meals to pay for it. Shenxiu feels like a monster, knowing her parents are over 50 and working themselves to the bone for her. She sits in the studio feeling completely suffocated by the guilt. She looks at the phone that delivered the bad news. She wonders if her dream is even worth the sacrifice her parents are making. The chat keeps scrolling with stories of failure and debt. The darkness of the studio matches the darkness in her heart. Suddenly, there's a knock at the door. It's Zuki checking if she's late for their session. But when she looks inside, she sees a scene of total chaos. Shenxiu is slumped over, looking absolutely defeated. Her beautiful drawings are scribbled over and thrown across the floor like trash. Zuki rushes to pick them up, but Shenxiu tells her to stop. Our poor heroine has reached her breaking point and declares she's giving up on art forever. Our poor heroine is drowning in regret, hating her past self for being too afraid to make a move. She remembers the day she claimed she gave up on her dreams, all while trying to avoid her feelings for Zuki altogether. But the chaos really kicked off when she decided to play a game and picked a high-stakes mission card. She had no idea that one simple draw would change her life forever. Suddenly, the whole school is buzzing because the local hunk is about to make a grand confession at the playground. Everyone is rushing to see the drama unfold, leaving our girl feeling totally conflicted as she watches from the crowd. The tension is thick enough to cut with a knife as the school heartthrob drops to one knee with a massive bouquet for Zuki. But as he pours his heart out, Zuki feels like she's being swallowed by a dark void. It's like she's trapped behind a glass wall, isolated from everyone and everything. Shenxiu watches from the sidelines, finally seeing the invisible barrier keeping them apart. She realizes that if she doesn't act now, Zuki might disappear into that darkness forever. The crowd starts chanting for them to be together, adding to the suffocating pressure. The noise is deafening, a chorus of voices demanding a happy ending that feels more like a nightmare. Dark hands seem to reach out from the shadows, ready to pull Zuki into a life she doesn't want. The pressure is savage, making her feel like she's literally drowning in everyone else's expectations. Zuki wonders if just saying yes will make this terrifying feeling go away. She's on the verge of giving up, her eyes filled with a hollow sadness. But just as she's about to break, a blinding light shatters the gloom. In a moment of pure chaotic bravery, Shenxiu storms onto the scene. She's done being a bystander and decides to take matters into her own hands. She charges forward, shocking everyone in the vicinity as she grabs Zuki by the collar. Zuki can only stare in shock, wondering what on earth is happening as Shenxiu pulls her close. Shenxiu reminds herself she's just completing a punishment for the game, but her heart is pounding out of her chest. The world around them fades into a blur of pink flowers. And then she actually does it. She kisses Zuki right in front of the entire school. She plays it off as just a mission to save face, but the impact is absolutely legendary. After that heroic feat, Shenxiu does what any sane person would do. She flees to the countryside to hide at her grandparents' place. She spends her summer living the quiet life, hoping the gossip will eventually die down. She's constantly worried that Zuki is plotting her revenge for ruining that confession. Our girl literally hides in trees, enjoying the fact that the internet speed is too slow for the drama to reach her. But peace doesn't last forever, and soon her university admission letter arrives. She spends her last days of freedom packing, convinced that time has diluted her heroic deed into a mere joke. She heads off to college with a smile, ready for a fresh start and zero drama. She arrives at the prestigious Yunzhong University, feeling like a brand new woman ready to conquer the world. The campus is lively and full of possibilities, but as she goes to register, she hears a voice that makes her blood run cold. She looks up and sees a familiar face she definitely wasn't prepared to encounter today. It's Zuki, looking as stunning and composed as ever at the registration desk. She greets Shenxiu with a smile that says, "I haven't forgotten a thing." Shenxiu turns into a literal ghost, her soul basically leaving her body in pure terror. She grabs her luggage and tries to make a break for it before things get even weirder. She frantically checks the student lists, praying it's all just a horrible coincidence. But fate is a cruel mistress, and she realizes they aren't just at the same school, they are in the same major. Our poor heroine is having a total meltdown, wishing the earth would just swallow her whole. She's so desperate to hide that she's basically trying to blend into the grass like an ant. Zuki comes looking for her, wondering where her heroic friend disappeared to. She finds the abandoned luggage, but Shenxiu is nowhere to be seen. Meanwhile, our girl has hit a new level of chaotic distress, hiding in the weeds like a tiny, panicked creature. The girls realize the freshman they were looking for is missing, so they decide to move her luggage to the sign-in area. Little do they know, our poor heroine is hidden right under their noses in the grass. She watches in a total panic as they grab her yellow suitcase. She tries to reach out, but she's hit with a soul-crushing realization. Look at those tiny, marshmallow-sized hands. Our girl has officially turned into a literal chibai, and she is absolutely losing it. As the girls decide to just take her bags back to the dorms, they walk away, leaving our tiny protagonist stranded in the wild. Zuki walks off with the luggage, leaving our heroine to fend for herself in a world of giants. She spots a delivery cart full of water bottles and realizes it's her only chance for a ride. The plan is simple: jump on the taxi and hitch a ride to her suitcase. But life is never that easy, and the cart suddenly swerves into the wrong lane. She's forced to bail and start sprinting across the pavement. Her only path is straight across the basketball court, which is basically a death zone right now. Massive sneakers start slamming down all around her like falling meteorites. It's a high-stakes game of survival as she narrowly avoids being turned into a pancake. She's diving and dodging for her life, barely escaping the heel of a giant sneaker. She finally makes it to the other side, panting and exhausted. But just as she thinks she's safe, a massive shadow looms over her. A basketball comes flying in and nearly ends her whole career. She barely manages to scramble under a fallen leaf to hide. Zuki is standing right there, but she's completely oblivious to her tiny friend hiding in the brush. Before our girl can make a move, Zuki walks away, leaving her completely stranded again. The basketball players mention that Zuki seemed anxious and was trying to call someone. Our girl realizes she must be the one Zuki is calling and starts digging through the leaves. She needs to find her phone before someone else does. Luckily, she finds her unicorn-cased phone vibrating in the grass. It's a total relief that nobody took it to the lost and found. Now comes the hard part: unlocking a screen that's bigger than she is. The phone starts buzzing with an incoming call from her hometown. She realizes it has to be Zuki and uses her entire body weight to press the answer button. Zuki is on the other end, sounding worried sick about where she disappeared to. Our heroine tries to shout that she's still on campus, but her tiny voice is barely a whisper. To make matters worse, her phone battery is sitting at a measly 1%. She tries to explain her location, but the screen goes black at the worst possible moment. Just when she thinks things can't get any worse, the campus sprinklers turn on. Our poor heroine is getting absolutely drenched in the rain. She's cold, soaked, and feeling completely hopeless. Suddenly, a giant voice calls out her name. She looks up through the water in tears, and there she is. Zuki actually found her. Zuki is absolutely stunned, staring down at the tiny, wet version of her friend. Our girl doesn't care about the logic anymore. She just runs toward her savior with everything she's got. She cries out in relief as she reaches Zuki, who gently picks her up and takes her back to the safety of the dorm. Finally, our girl is warm, dry, and her phone is safely back on the charger. She celebrates her survival by tackling a slice of mango cake that's twice her size. She tries to explain that this might be some kind of Cinderella magic that will wear off at midnight, but Zuki just stares at her blankly because she has zero clue what a Cinderella is. Our girl is absolutely savage with her commentary, realizing Zuki's childhood was nothing but textbooks and exams. It's a total culture shock for our heroine, but even as they sit there in an awkward silence, our girl thinks she might have finally figured out the real reason why she shrank in the first place. Zuki is cornering our girl, demanding to know why she's so embarrassed. Shenxiu is absolutely panicking, sweating more than a marathon runner as she tries to come up with an excuse. Zuki wonders if she just didn't realize they were schoolmates until registration. Our heroine admits she actually spent the whole summer hiding in the mountains just to avoid reality. She's practically vibrating with soul-crushing regret. Zuki stares her down with those piercing eyes, making Shenxiu shake like a leaf. Suddenly, a literal miracle happens. Her phone starts buzzing. It's a call from her mom, and Shenxiu treats it like a holy intervention sent to save her life. But before she can reach it, Zuki snatches the phone first. Zuki hits the answer button and pulls a total pro-gamer move. She tells the parents Shenxiu is just busy washing up and her phone died, so she's charging it for her. Shenxiu is stunned. Why would this ice queen lie to protect her? She watches Zuki's soft expression and realizes she's actually being unexpectedly kind. Zuki keeps chatting with the parents, and Shenxiu notices this is probably the first time she's seen her roommate smile so brightly. It hits our girl that while she's homesick, Zuki might be even lonelier. She watches her roommate's back, wondering if anyone actually cares for her. After the call, Zuki drops a bomb. She noticed on the parent list that Shenxiu doesn't share a last name with either of them. Shenxiu prepares to spill the tea on her family history. We jump back 19 years to a very stressed out dad at the hospital. The doctor delivers the news his wife isn't sick, she's just very pregnant. The dad is absolutely losing his mind with joy. He's so ecstatic he's practically glowing as he hugs the news to his chest. He rushes to the registration office, shouting that they are the luckiest people alive. He's so hyped he starts reciting poetry to the poor clerk. He decides the perfect name for his daughter must be Zhong Shenxiu. The clerk points out that the name doesn't match his or his wife's surname. But dad has a loophole, the grandmother's name is Zhang, so it's totally fine. He walks away looking like he just won the lottery. Back to the present, Shenxiu finishes her tale, and Zuki completely loses her composure. She's laughing so hard she has to hide her face behind a pillow. Shenxiu usually tells that story to make friends, but seeing Zuki's genuine reaction feels special. She thinks her roommate's smile is actually quite beautiful. Shenxiu asks if she wants to hear more family secrets, but they realize it's getting late. Zuki decides it's time to wrap it up. They've been chatting for way too long and need to get some sleep. But our tiny heroine has a big problem. How is she supposed to shower without being washed away by the faucet? Zuki, being the MVP, has already planned everything out. She sets up a soap box as a bathtub and a toothbrush for a back scrubber. Shenxiu is living her best life in her new luxury spa. It's incredibly refreshing. While Zuki heads downstairs for a bit, Shenxiu stays behind to soak. She starts thinking about why such a nice girl is always alone. She remembers her mom saying Zuki always attended school events by herself. Now that Shenxiu knows what it's like to be small and helpless, she feels a wave of guilt. She regrets being so self-centered in the past and wishes they could have become friends much sooner. After a refreshing soak, our girl is resurrected and feeling like a brand new woman. She cautiously scans the room, making sure no one is lurking in the shadows. The trauma is real, though, as she realizes she might have to put those literal trash can clothes back on. Luckily, Zuki returns with a mysterious bundle and tells her it's time for a wardrobe change. Our heroine's eyes sparkle with hope, but that hope turns into pure chaos when she sees the outfit is a giant, fluffy bunny onesie. She's absolutely baffled why Zuki is already planning to buy even more clothes. As Zuki starts scrolling through her phone, our girl frantically tries to stop the shopping spree. It finally clicks, Zuki isn't just being nice, she's secretly trying to turn her into a living doll. She lets out a massive huff of annoyance, but when she sees Zuki's innocent expression, she starts to wonder if she's just overthinking things. She tries to use logic, arguing that if she turns back into a human at midnight like Cinderella, all these tiny clothes will be a total waste of money. Zuki just gives her a gentle pat and sets her down for the night. Left alone in the quiet dorm, our girl realizes that since it's the first day of registration, her other roommates haven't arrived to witness her embarrassment yet. She looks around the empty room, feeling the weight of her tiny situation. Determined to keep her dignity, she starts crafting her own bed on the desk using an eraser as a pillow. She pats it down, trying to convince herself it's actually comfortable. After a quick firmness check, she realizes this bed is basically a rock. Zuki stares her down with a blank look, and when she suggests they just share the big bed, our heroine nearly short-circuits thinking about the sleeping together implications if she grows back. She aggressively refuses, claiming her desk bed is totally fine. She bids Zuki a hasty goodnight and demands the lights be turned off. The room plunges into darkness, and for a second she thinks she's finally won. But the reality of sleeping on a giant eraser sets in, and it's absolute torture. Still, she tells herself it's a small price to pay to avoid a scandalous morning. She's just about to drift off, when a massive hand suddenly reaches down and yanks her up by her bunny ears. She lets out a soul-shattering scream, demanding to know what the heck Zuki is doing. Zuki just hits her with the ultimate, "I promise to take care of you" guilt trip. Looking into those big, emotional eyes, our girl realizes she's completely trapped. Zuki doubles down on the emotional blackmail, claiming she can't sleep unless her tiny friend is right by her side. Our poor heroine is forced to sit there, looking like a literal marshmallow on a giant tundra. Zuki tells her to quit complaining and just go to sleep. As Zuki drifts off with a satisfied, smug little smile, our girl realizes she's been played like a fiddle. She spends the entire night wide awake, staring into the abyss of her own poor choices. By morning, she's a total wreck with massive bags under her eyes. She looks like she's aged 10 years in a single night. On the bright side, she didn't turn back into a human, so her secret is still safe. She rubs her tired eyes, swearing that today is the day she stops letting Zuki trick her. But Zuki is still fast asleep, looking like a literal angel. Suddenly, a hand reaches out from under the covers and gives our girl's cheek a savage pinch. She gets absolutely squished while screaming for mercy. Zuki starts listing off her busy schedule for the day, insisting that they need to go buy necessities for her. She uses the "I promised your mom" card again, and our girl can feel her soul leaving her body. She's so over the emotional pressure. Realizing she's walking into another trap, she prepares to fight back. When Zuki mentions the expensive mall, our girl thinks she's being a genius by suggesting the local wholesale market to save money. She gives a smug little smirk, thinking she's finally outsmarted her captor. They arrive at the market, which is a total war zone of discounts. Our girl puts on her veteran shopper face, ready to lead the way. Zuki is immediately overwhelmed by the sheer intensity of the place. Sellers are screaming about mops and hangers from every direction. Our heroine thrives in the chaos, bargaining like a savage. She eventually notices she might be enjoying the power trip a little too much. When she catches Zuki laughing, she demands to know what's so funny. Zuki is just genuinely happy to be there. Our girl pouts, realizing her revenge of making Zuki carry heavy bags didn't bother her at all. She wanted to see her struggle, but the plan backfired. Zuki starts humming a happy tune as they walk. But wait, the direction they're walking looks suspiciously familiar. They end up right back at the big malls anyway. Our girl is beyond confused. Zuki claims she needs a reward for all that hard work and asks for some milk tea. Feeling a bit guilty, our girl agrees to treat her. Her mood instantly flips because hey, who doesn't love milk tea? They start hunting for the perfect shop and spot a place called Super Sweet Peach. As they approach the counter, our heroine's face turns pale with regret. She spots a giant sign for a Chinese Valentine's promotion. The deal, milk tea is half price, but only if you give your partner a kiss. Our girl is currently losing her mind because she's being forced to hold a tiny, adorable doll version of herself. The shop clerk just stares at her with the most deadpan expression you've ever seen, while the tiny doll starts puffing out its cheeks in pure, unadulterated embarrassment. The clerk finally breaks the silence to ask what on earth she's doing, but our heroine insists she's just participating in the Valentine's Day event. Zuki is internally screaming because the doll actually felt the kiss, and she's demanding to know how her friend could be so savage. The clerk isn't even sure if kissing a piece of plastic counts for a discount, but another staff member pops in to scream that it absolutely does. She's clearly a fan of the drama and sends the other clerk off to get tea so she can enjoy the show. She even whips out a camera, ready to snap a souvenir of this chaotic moment. Our poor girl looks at the photo board and realizes she's about to be immortalized next to actual couples and their pets. But hey, a discount is a discount, so she gives the green light. They finally settle down at the Super Sweet Peach Cafe, where the tiny doll is left sitting alone on the table looking very small and very stressed. Zuki stares at the little thing, her brain a complete mess of confusing feelings. The tiny version of her is having a full-blown existential crisis, wondering how her friend could be so nonchalant about everything. She's convinced that if someone did that to her, she'd chop them into tiny pieces, so why is Shenxiu acting so normal? She starts spiraling, thinking that maybe this was all just some elaborate experiment. She tries to talk it out with the doll, looking like a total weirdo to anyone passing by. She quickly tries to take back her bad thoughts because Shenxiu is supposed to be her bestie. But the memory of that kiss is living rent-free in her head. She realizes that Shenxiu never even complained about the kiss back then, which means Zuki is the only one caught up in her own head. She starts wondering why she was even avoiding her in the first place. It was a rational move to save the situation, right? She didn't do anything wrong. Suddenly, the real Shenxiu returns with the drinks, giving her a smile that could melt glaciers. She's brought over the most aesthetic cupcakes you've ever seen, featuring a little rabbit and a grumpy cat. Before they can even take a bite, the magic finally happens. Zuki is back to her normal size, and she's currently tackling her friend in a massive hug. She's so hyped that the transformation worked that she's completely forgotten about personal space. Shenxiu is turning a very bright shade of red as she feels our girl's arms wrapped around her. Zuki finally realizes what she's doing and pulls back, her face heating up faster than a microwave. She starts stuttering out apologies while trying to act like she didn't just have a main character moment. They try to go back to being normal students, sipping their tea in a silence that is definitely not awkward at all. Zuki tries to distract herself with her phone, but the tension is thick enough to cut with a knife. Shenxiu watches her over the rim of her cup, clearly thinking about something deep. Our girl finally asks the big question: how did they end up at the same university with the same major? Shenxiu goes quiet, her eyes drifting away as the mood shifts from sweet to somber. We get a glimpse into her past, and it's not pretty. A cold, high-end dinner with a mother who cares more about the stock market than her daughter. Her mom is more concerned with exam scores than feelings, looking at her like a disappointing investment. Shenxiu looks absolutely miserable, trapped in a life of high expectations and zero affection. Her phone buzzes with a message from her brother, who's out living his best life while she's stuck in a gilded cage. Her brother brags about running wild and free while she's forced to study for a future she didn't choose. Her mother coldly reminds her that she and her brother are not the same. While her brother gets to go abroad and have fun, Shenxiu is told that her only purpose is to come back and serve the family company. It's a brutal realization that her mother never actually cared about her as a person. This takes us back to a painful memory of the past, where a younger Zuki was crying her eyes out. She was apologizing for the punishment game, feeling terrible for what she'd done. But Shenxiu just looked down at her with those cold, empty eyes and said she didn't care. Everyone else laughed it off and left, leaving the two of them alone in the shadows. Back in the present, Shenxiu is alone in her room at night, when her phone dings with a mysterious notification. She checks it, expecting more family drama, but it's a message from a strange user named KFCCV50. The message is chilling. It claims she must be angry about what Zuki did and offers her a chance at revenge. It even lists Zuki's exact exam scores and where she applied for university. Shenxiu stares out the window, the weight of her choices pressing down on her. She heads downstairs, only to see her mother still barking orders on the phone. Her mom demands results by tomorrow, showing absolutely zero warmth. Shenxiu listens from the shadows, clenching her phone as she realizes her mother truly never cared about her at all. The drama is officially reaching a breaking point. Zuki is stuck in her head, wondering why her old friend suddenly reached out after a whole summer of ghosting. She's practically sweating over her drink, trying to figure out how to even start a conversation. Meanwhile, our pink-haired girl Zhong Shenxiu is way too distracted by her phone to notice the tension. She finally looks up with a clumsy apology for being so absorbed in her screen. To break the ice, she raves about the taro and coconut flavor of her drink, trying to keep things light. But the silence between them is heavy enough to sink a ship. Zuki can't help but look at her with eyes full of unspoken questions and hidden guilt. On her screen, the reality of their situation is staring back. The fact that they are both heading to the same university for the exact same major. The atmosphere turns gloomy, matching the rainy view outside as the past catches up to them. The admission results are public now, and there's absolutely no hiding the truth anymore. Zuki has been waiting for this moment, braced for an explanation or a confrontation that never comes. She wonders if Shenxiu is actually furious at her for following her all the way here. Her mind is a chaotic mess of dark thoughts swirling like a storm. Is it disgust she'll see in her friend's eyes when the truth comes out? Or something even more painful? Her anxiety is manifesting as spiky, angry shadows clawing at her consciousness. She's trapped in a loop of what-ifs that she can't escape. There are so many ways this could go wrong, and she's imagining every single one. It's like Schrodinger's box of emotions. She won't know if their friendship is alive or dead until she finally opens it. And right now, she's terrified to even touch the lid. She remembers how things used to be before everything got so complicated. Back when she was just a girl trying to offer a gift and a small piece of her heart. Meeting new people was always a gamble for our poor heroine. She remembers the day Yan Kelly approached her with a bright, disarming smile. Kelly was so bubbly, instantly claiming she loved Zuki's cute bag charm. It was a simple little orange tomato thing, but it was the start of a fragile bond. Zuki let her touch it, desperately hoping for a real connection. Kelly promised they'd be best friends forever, and for a while, Zuki actually believed her. She even joined the school choir just to be the piano accompaniment for her new friend. But the higher you climb, the harder you fall, and she soon overheard the girls whispering behind her back. They called her annoying and said she had absolutely no sense of boundaries. That rejection left a permanent scar on her soul. She learned the hard way that opening her heart only led to getting scratched. And now, looking at Shenxiu, those old fears are bubbling right back up to the surface. Shenxiu finally notices her drifting away and asks what's wrong. Zuki looks like she's seen a ghost, her face turning a ghostly shade of pale in the cafe light. Shenxiu is genuinely worried, wondering if her friend is falling ill right in front of her. But Zuki is mentally pushing the box away, screaming internally that she doesn't want to know the truth. She's not ready for the rejection she's sure is waiting inside. Her heart is racing as she frantically tries to find an exit strategy. She suddenly stands up, blurting out a frantic excuse about needing to revise a speech for the counselor. Shenxiu, being the sweetheart she is, tells her to go ahead and not to worry about it. She gives a cheerful wave, completely unaware of the internal breakdown Zuki is having. Our girl beats a hasty retreat, waving back with a hand that's probably trembling. She disappears into the crowd, needing to breathe and escape the pressure. Left alone, Shenxiu takes a sip of her drink, but the sweetness is suddenly gone. She starts coughing violently as the taste turns foul in her mouth. It's bitter, sour, and utterly wrong compared to before. It's the unmistakable taste of a lie, and it lingers on her tongue like poison. Later, Shenxiu tries to drop off some things at the dorms, but she's met with a locked door. She introduces herself to a student nearby, only to find out Zuki isn't even in the building. She starts panicking, worried she can't even get her campus card without someone to confirm her identity. She ends up lugging her heavy bags around, feeling completely lost and abandoned. She retreats to the cafeteria, staring at her call logs. She's tried calling Zuki 10 times with no answer. She sets her unicorn-cased phone down, feeling the weight of the silence. Suddenly, a notification dings, breaking her train of thought. It's the old drawing group chat, and someone named Sun Yang is posting selfies from the campus. Shenxiu joins in, mentioning she arrived yesterday and is looking for the others. The chat is buzzing with everyone posting their first day photos from outside the gates. It seems like everyone is excited for the new start except for her. Shenxiu drops the bombshell, asking if they can guess who she ran into today. She announces it's Zuki with a goofy meme, expecting a huge reaction from the squad. She waits, chopsticks in hand, for the flood of messages to start, but instead she gets hit with a wall of absolute silence. It finally dawns on her that maybe they already knew they were at the same school all along. When Sun Yangyang finally replies with a generic "wow, really?", the tone feels incredibly fake and mocking. Shenxiu's intuition is screaming that something is off. Why didn't anyone mention this over the summer? She starts digging through the message history, looking for clues she might have missed. Meanwhile, Zuki spots her from across the cafeteria and freezes like a deer in headlights. She knows she can't just run away again without looking incredibly guilty. She tries to come up with a plan to just pack her things and sneak out the side window. But another ding from her phone makes her stop in her tracks. She looks over and sees Shenxiu choking on her food again, looking miserable. Her instincts kick in and she rushes over to help, offering her a bottle of water. Shenxiu gulps it down, still complaining that her soup tasted like bitterness. She looks up at Zuki with wide, questioning eyes that see right through her. She asks if Zuki is there to eat and invites her to sit down together. Zuki almost says yes, but the fear wins out and she lies again, saying she's just picking up food for others. Zhong Shenxiu is caught in a web of lies. She can feel the distance growing between them ever since she returned to her normal size. Our poor heroine Zuki watches her with a look that says she knows exactly what's going on. Zuki wonders if she should just walk away or try to bridge the gap. But before she can decide, Zhong Shenxiu forces a smile and tells her to go grab some food. She literally pushes Zuki toward the cafeteria, acting like everything is totally fine. Zuki stands in line, her heart heavy as she realizes her friend is purposely avoiding her. Zhong Shenxiu sits alone, trying to convince herself that she doesn't care about the lying. Zuki sighs, thinking that maybe they really are just ordinary classmates after all. It's a bitter pill to swallow and she tries to keep her composure. She just wants to stop worrying that she'll be hated. Suddenly, a voice snaps her out of her trance. Zhong Shenxiu appears right behind her, causing Zuki to nearly jump out of her skin. She apologizes for the jump scare, looking a bit guilty. She reaches out, her hand lingering on Zuki's sleeve. She asks if they should bring lunch back for the volunteers, trying to act natural. She starts counting the people who helped out, including the upperclassmen. Why not bring food for the whole department? She flashes a savage, bright smile and suggests making a quick phone call. Zuki just watches her, mesmerized by her energy. It seems like the awkwardness has vanished into thin air. Soon, they're at the literary planning tent, handing out meals to the hungry staff. Zuki finds herself actually enjoying the lively atmosphere of the group. Suddenly, a girl from the dorm recognizes her. It's Chai Zhengyi, and she's falling all over herself to apologize for the luggage drama from earlier. Zuki listens quietly as the girls chat. Zhong Shenxiu laughs it off, looking like the life of the party. But Zuki's guilt comes roaring back when she realizes her friend knew she lied about revising a speech. Despite the deception, Zhong Shenxiu is still being incredibly sweet to her. She flashes a smile so radiant it's almost blinding. As night falls and the crescent moon rises, the group of girls walks together under the dim streetlights. Zuki thinks to herself that Zhong Shenxiu is truly a strange person. She watches her friend's profile, lost in thought. She wonders how someone could still hold onto her hand after being lied to so many times. Later that night, the mood shifts as Zhong Shenxiu takes a phone call that clearly isn't going well. It's Sun Yangyang, and she's being a total nightmare on the other end. Zhong Shenxiu grips her unicorn-cased phone, looking like she's about to break. The toxic friend is gaslighting her, making her feel like trash for leaving the group chat. Zhong Shenxiu actually apologizes to her bully, looking completely defeated. Zuki watches from the shadows, her blood boiling as she realizes her friend is being manipulated. Zhong Shenxiu agrees to rejoin the group just to stop the fighting. She stares at her screen, feeling the weight of everyone's expectations. But then the bully crosses a line, calling her and Zuki hearts of stone. Zhong Shenxiu freezes, her voice turning icy. The bully rants about how she's been avoiding people for years. Finally, our girl has had enough and screams at her to stop. She won't let anyone speak ill of Zuki, and her eyes are full of savage fire. She grips her phone tight, ready to burn every bridge. She is absolutely furious, and the truth starts to pour out. It takes her back to their second year of high school when she first switched to liberal arts. Back then, Zuki was the top student, always focused on her studies. Zhong Shenxiu used to watch her from afar, fascinated by her dedication. Zuki was even helping the teachers grade tests while everyone else was struggling. The teachers were arguing about the pace of the class, and Zhong Shenxiu felt like she was falling behind. But Zuki stood up for the entire class, telling the teacher that everyone was just nervous. In that moment, Zhong Shenxiu realized that Zuki was actually a really good person. Back in the present, she shouts into the phone that she knows exactly who treats her the best. She doesn't care about the bully's opinions anymore. Zuki stands on the stairs, her heart swelling with emotion as she hears her friend defending her. It's like a giant glowing weight has been lifted off her soul. As she walks away, she feels lighter than ever. She looks up, feeling like a box she's kept locked for years has finally burst open. Something beautiful and new is starting to grow inside her, and it's all thanks to the girl with the pink hair. The morning sun hits the campus, but the drama inside the dorm is already heating up. Our girl Zuki is barely conscious when her roommate, the stunning Zhong Shenxiu, asks why she's up so early. Apparently, her parents have been blowing up her phone all night. Zuki panics, realizing she left her phone on silent like a total amateur. She scrambles down the bunk bed, explaining that she was just trying to avoid some annoying people. But in her rush, her foot misses the step and she starts stepping on thin air. She's headed straight for a faceplant, screaming for her life. Luckily, Shenxiu is there to catch her in the most romantic, heart-fluttering save possible. Just then, the door swings open to reveal a new face. It's their new roommate, Wang Defu, who walks in on the spicy-looking position. Defu's jaw drops as she wonders if this is just the standard college experience. She's an animation major and introduces herself with way too much energy for this early in the morning. Zuki tries to explain they weren't doing anything weird, but Defu is already shipping them. She's humming a happy tune, clearly writing fanfic in her head already. Zuki can practically see the pink bubbles and roses Defu is imagining around them. Trying to escape the awkwardness, Zuki slips on a stray slipper and goes flying again. At that exact moment, another girl named Yu appears at the door. Now there are two witnesses to Zuki's accidental physical intimacy. Defu is living her best life, immediately befriending the newcomer while Zuki dies inside. Our poor heroine tries to explain the situation, but the more she talks, the worse it looks. Defu stops to think, realizing something is missing from this romance scene. She claps her hands, having a brilliant, chaotic idea. She pulls out a pocky stick and shoves it into Zuki's mouth. Now she looks like a suave protagonist from a shoujo manga. Defu nods in approval because this is exactly how things should be in a comic. Zuki is left chewing on a biscuit stick, wondering how her life became a parody. To make matters worse, another student, Deng Yixia, recognizes her from a Kiss for Half-Price event. The sheer volume of misunderstandings is reaching critical mass. Zuki realizes her reputation is officially beyond saving at this point. Once the chaos settles, they realize room 1412 is a wild mix of majors. Defu is the animation expert, while Zuki is stuck in the liberal arts struggle. Yu reveals she's studying biology, adding a scientist to the mix. And Yixia is an upperclassman majoring in traditional Chinese painting. Yu asks if anyone can help her track down a specific upperclassman in the liberal arts department. She seems desperate, like she's on a secret mission. Zuki watches her, sensing there's a deeper story behind Yu's arrival at this school. She realizes everyone here has their own hidden motives. Ever the helpful soul, Zuki checks her contacts to see if she can find the person Yu is looking for. Shenxiu watches Zuki work, impressed by how steady her hands are when she's focused. The two share a quiet moment of professional respect amidst the dorm madness. Zuki offers some advice, explaining that it took her a year of practice to get this good. But the atmosphere shifts as Zuki's past begins to catch up with her. She excuses herself to the balcony to finally return that call to her parents. The cool night air doesn't do much to calm her nerves. She promises her parents she won't get lost, acting like a responsible adult for once. Inside, the other girls are gossiping about why Shenxiu chose this university over more prestigious ones. Zuki overhears and starts to wonder what her mysterious roommate actually likes. She feels a strange pull toward Shenxiu, wanting to understand her better. Shenxiu approaches her and asks if she's ready to answer a question from before. The tension is thick enough to cut with a knife as Zuki hesitates. She admits that she doesn't really understand what's going on between them. They stand face to face, the silence speaking louder than words. Zuki mentions how she hung up on someone to protect Shenxiu's reputation. But she still needs to hear the truth directly from the source. The world seems to fade away as they focus only on each other. Shenxiu looks her in the eye, ready to drop a truth bomb. She offers to explain exactly why she chose the same major as Zuki. But there's a catch, a condition that involves a solemn pinky swear. Shenxiu leans in and whispers her demand. Zuki has to draw her a portrait. Fate has officially brought everyone together at Yunjiang University, but our girl is already having a total mental breakdown. She's surrounded by a mountain of failed sketches because her drawing skills are basically non-existent, and she knows it. Her roommate asks if she's even started packing for military training, but Shenxiu is too busy mourning her artistic soul. She begs for any trick to draw portraits, looking like she's about to ascend to another dimension from the stress. Her friend shows off a drawing of the class monitor, Zuki, and our heroine realizes this drawing problem is way more high-level than she thought. She realizes she has no idea how to capture that vibe. An upperclassman tells her the secret is simple. You have to truly understand the other person. You have to get closer to their world if you want to draw them right. Shenxiu takes that advice to heart, staring at the monitor like she's a puzzle she's determined to solve. The bus ride to the mountains is a chaotic mess of students and nerves. A classmate pulls the classic Karsic card to snag a better seat, and the monitor, being way too nice, just lets it happen. Zuki moves to the back, but the bumpy road is clearly doing a number on her. As they wind through the mountains, the atmosphere gets heavy. Our girl notices the monitor is looking incredibly pale and is definitely struggling. While the other girls are obsessing over idols, Shenxiu sees the monitor is on the verge of collapsing. She steps up and offers her some water. It's still warm, which she hopes will help suppress the nausea. Zuki is genuinely grateful for the help. Shenxiu watches her closely, feeling a protective spark, even as the other girls keep chatting away about handsome idols. Our girl decides to take matters into her own hands. She slides an earbud into Zuki's ear. She suggests the monitor listen to some music and take a nap to feel better. Shenxiu gives her a soft, encouraging smile. Zuki finally relaxes, leaning her head right onto our girl's shoulder. It's a total swoon-worthy moment as they sit close, sharing the music. But then reality hits with a scorching September sun that's out for blood. The military training is absolutely savage, leaving everyone gasping for air in the heat. When they finally get a 10-minute break, Shenxiu is literally melting into the ground. She looks completely exhausted, like her soul is leaving her body. She is halfway to seeing the light when something freezing cold touches her face. It's Zuki, returning the favor and looking like a literal angel of mercy with a water bottle. Shenxiu takes the drink, but she can't help but notice the monitor is just as worn out. She sees the sweat on Zuki's neck and realizes the girl is pushing herself way too hard. She wonders why the monitor keeps lying about being okay just to help others. As the sun sets over the mountains, the training shifts into the evening. Shenxiu is found sulking in the dirt, drawing with a stick. Her friend tells her to wash up before the next session, but she's waiting for someone. She's got her eyes on the prize. She watches as a crowd of girls swarm Zuki, praising her for winning the obstacle course. They are laying the compliments on thick. Shenxiu wonders if the monitor is going to fall for their help me act again. Sure enough, the slackers start faking sprained ankles and cycles just to get on Zuki's team. The monitor looks totally drained, but she's about to say yes anyway. Shenxiu jumps in and declares she's joining the team too, catching everyone off guard. Zuki is genuinely surprised to see her stepping up. Day 2 is all about orienteering. Shenxiu pulls Zuki aside before they start. The monitor apologizes for getting her into trouble with the slackers, but our girl isn't worried at all. The sky is clear and the stakes are high. The whistle blows and it's a mad dash into the forest. They plunge into the dense greenery, running through the brush at full speed. They end up in a desolate graveyard that looks straight out of a horror movie. Shenxiu manages to find the hidden instructor to check in. Behind her, the other girls are busy screaming their heads off at every shadow. Despite the chaos, they successfully find the target. Shenxiu grabs their cards and checks the map for the next point. Suddenly, she realizes the monitor hasn't made it to the checkpoint yet and goes on a frantic search. The terrain is getting rocky and dangerous. The view is beautiful, but the drop-offs are no joke. She spots Zuki trying to take a steep shortcut up a cliff because she's worried about catching up. But the monitor's strength finally gives out and she loses her grip on the rocks. Her foot slips on the loose gravel. In a terrifying split second, she loses her balance and starts plummeting toward the forest floor below. The pressure of being number 1 is finally catching up to our poor silver-haired heroine. Every trophy and sticker represents a mountain of stress she can barely carry anymore. After pushing herself too hard, she ends up in the infirmary looking absolutely drained. Her friend Zixiu isn't having it as she sprays down her injured foot. She asks if it still hurts, gently rubbing the sore spot while her heart breaks for her friend. Our girl tries to play it off as a simple cramp, but Zixiu snaps, calling out her name in frustration. She can't believe her friend is prioritizing class rankings over her own physical health. The tension in the room is thick enough to cut with a knife. Zixiu asks why it's so impossible for her to just say no to people. Standing tall, she lectures her for being a total doormat. She warns her that these small favors come at a much higher price than she thinks. Frustrated, Zixiu tells her to just forget it and turns away. But the silver-haired girl is a glutton for punishment and heads right back to training. She looks back with those big sad eyes, but duty calls. Out on the field, the sun is absolutely savage. Everyone is sweating buckets and praying for a miracle. They whisper about whether our girl can even handle the obstacle course in her state. The instructor blows the whistle and it's showtime. Phew, the race begins. She pushes off, her mind racing with all the times she couldn't refuse a request. She's struggling, her body screaming for her to stop. Her grip slips as she realizes she's only doing this because she doesn't want to let anyone down. Finally, her strength gives out and she collapses, only for Zixiu to catch her in the nick of time. As she lies there defeated, the sky suddenly turns dark and a massive crack of lightning splits the air. A storm is brewing right when they need it most. Zixiu looks up in shock. It's actually raining. The downpour hits the dusty ground, and training is officially canceled, giving our girl a much-needed break. As the rain washes over the leaves, Zixiu watches the storm from the sidelines. The silver-haired girl walks up and softly thanks her. Zixiu is confused, asking what she's thanking her for. Our heroine smiles and says, "Thank you for the rain." They stand together at the edge of the shelter, watching the world turn into a blur of blue. Zixiu admits that she's tired of their agreement. She wants to see the real you, not the girl who says yes to everyone. She's tried to understand her world, but she's still searching for the truth. Our girl admits that since childhood, no was never a word in her vocabulary. They stand side by side, the silence between them filled with unsaid words. She doesn't even know why she's like this anymore. The only person she ever truly rejected was a stranger who tried to mess with her university application. Tears begin to mix with the raindrops on her face. She confesses that the only reason she even came here was to be close to Zhixiu. Zhixiu looks at her with such intensity. Our girl admits she doesn't even know what she truly looks like anymore. Zhixiu reaches out, cupping her cheek with so much tenderness it hurts. She finally lets the tears fall. Those warm tears burn more than the summer sun ever could. In that moment, they finally embrace, letting the world wash away. The ripples in the water reflect a new beginning for them. Suddenly, we're transported to a vast, scorching desert. Zhixiu is now a lone traveler wandering through the endless sand. She's been trapped in this wasteland for days. She struggles to climb a dead tree, searching for any sign of life. Legend says an evil water demon stole all the spring spirits from this land. She vows to catch the demon and restore the lush mountains. Suddenly, she spots something impossible, an oasis in the middle of nowhere. She approaches cautiously, convinced this must be some kind of magical trick. She pulls down her hood, ready for a fight. Her hand stays close to her weapon. Under a white umbrella, she finds a paradise hidden among the palms. She takes a moment to rest in the shade, breathing a sigh of relief. But her eyes remain sharp, scanning for danger. That's when she sees it, a bowl of fresh fruit. The bayberries look incredibly refreshing to her parched throat. She picks one up, tempted by its sweetness. She's about to take a bite, but then she stops. That can't be, she cries, throwing it aside. She spots peaches floating in the cool water. They look perfect, but she knows better. She draws her blade and slices through the air, refusing to be fooled. She cuts through the illusions with a savage grace. "Come out, water demon," she screams. She's done playing games. She sheathes her knife, ready to hunt the demon in its lair. She enters a dark, damp cave where water drips from the ceiling. The pools are deep and crystal clear. Zhixiu looks around, her determination unwavering. She shouts one last time for the demon to show its face. But then she slips. She plunges into the deep water with a massive splash. Underwater, she struggles to find her bearings. A blue fabric floats before her eyes. She looks up and sees a figure. It's her silver-haired friend, looking like a literal goddess in a flowing blue dress. Our girl is the water demon she was hunting all along. Zhixiu is stunned to find her here. The water goddess floats gracefully through the water like she belongs there. Zhixiu reaches out, her heart hammering in her chest. Bubbles rise around them as the world slows down. Zhixiu wonders if she'll be able to breathe. The water is cold, but the connection is electric. The goddess pulls her in for a deep shared kiss to give her air. It's a moment of pure magic underwater. Their hair intertwines as the boundaries between them melt away. Suddenly, bubbles rush to the surface. Zhixiu bolts upright in her dorm bed. It was all a dream. Her roommate asks why she's up so early. Still dazed, she grabs a towel and heads to the showers. The water hits her, but it can't wash away the memory. She can still taste the sweetness of the dream fruit and the softness of that kiss. Our girl is staring out the window of the liberal arts building, wondering why on earth she's having such spicy dreams about her best friend lately. She's so lost in thought that she doesn't even notice her crush calling her name until it's almost too late. She barely manages to dodge a collision, finding Zuki standing right there looking like a literal angel. Shenxiu tries to play it cool, but she's clearly struggling to keep her eyes off Zuki's elegant neck. She stammers through a weak excuse about the heat, claiming she just couldn't sleep and ended up here early. But her cover is immediately blown when Zuki points out that she was so flustered she put on 2 different shoes. Zuki can't help but giggle at the chaos, and honestly, we can't blame her. To make things even more heart-fluttering, she offers our poor heroine a steamed bun since she clearly skipped breakfast in her haste. Soon they are in class, where the professor is lecturing about the symbolism of dreams in literature. It's like the universe is personally attacking our girl today. While Zuki is being a model student and taking diligent notes, Shenxiu is stuck in the back, agonizing over her life choices. She tentatively asks if dreams are just the opposite of reality, hoping for a no. But the professor drops a Freud bomb, explaining that dreams are actually the realization of our deepest subconscious wishes. That realization hits Shenxiu like a freight train. Her dream wasn't just random, it was what she actually wanted. She steals a glance at Zuki's back, feeling the weight of her own desires. Could it be that she really has those kinds of feelings for her? Every little detail of Zuki suddenly feels way too intimate. Her heart starts doing gymnastics in her chest, and she's losing her mind. The ba thump is so loud she's sure the whole room can hear it as she turns into a total tomato. She tries to focus on anything else, but Zuki is just too distracting. Finally, the internal screaming becomes too much, and she face-splints onto her desk in a fit of pure embarrassment. The rest of the class just watches as our girl basically short-circuits in the middle of the lecture. By the time break rolls around, Shenxiu's soul has officially left her body. She's lying there like a defeated NPC, completely drained by her own emotions. Suddenly, Zuki appears with a juicy peach, trying to nurse her back to health. She holds it out so sweetly, but for Shenxiu, the fruit is triggering some very vivid memories from her dream. She starts screaming internally, waving her hands around like a maniac while Zuki just watches, bewildered. Our heroine is a disaster, but Zuki remains the queen of composure. She leans in close, whispering a cryptic quote about a dreaming man, and the moment his creation finally wakes up, the tension is thick enough to cut with a knife as she hovers inches away from Shenxiu's face. She finishes the thought with a look that says she knows exactly what's going on in that pink head of hers. Back at the dorms, the drama doesn't stop because their friend is wailing about a professor making her life miserable. She's crying about betraying the singles alliance, and Shenxiu feels the guilt stabbing her in the chest. Our heroine keeps replaying Zuki's words over and over, trying to find the hidden meaning. What was she trying to say with that dreamed man talk? It dawns on her that in the eyes of others, a kiss means you're officially a couple. Her friend is still on a rant about people who take advantage of others and then run away. Shenxiu realizes that's exactly what she did. She kissed Zuki in front of everyone and then bolted. She feels like the ultimate scumbag, a total player who played with a girl's heart. Labels like liar and player start floating around her head in her imagination. They literally start stabbing into her as she realizes how irresponsible she's been. She collapses on the floor, dying of shame because she's convinced Zuki thinks she's a total villain. She tries to laugh it off and act normal the next day, but the universe has more surprises in store. A random student suddenly rushes up to them with a gift, looking like she's about to explode from nerves. The girl is trembling, holding something out while our duo just stands there confused. Shenxiu is buffering, trying to process what's happening. The girl stammers out a request for a confession, looking like a total protagonist herself. She presents a heart shape pudding that's basically screaming, "I love you." Shenxiu panics, remembering that Zuki is way too nice and has a hard time rejecting people. She can't just stand there and let her girl get swept away by some random stranger. So she takes charge, grabbing Zuki's arm and pulling her away before things can get any more awkward. They leave the poor girl in the dust, making a clean getaway. As they walk away, they look like a power couple, though Shenxiu is still sweating bullets. But then she looks at the note left with the gift and realizes the pudding wasn't for Zuki at all, it was for her. Our girl is stunned into silence, realizing she totally misread the situation. Zuki gives her a look that's both curious and a little bit teasing. She asks if Shenxiu was so eager to pull her away because she thought Zuki was actually in her way. Our girl with the blue hair gets lost in her memories as she recounts a past love. Back in junior high, she met a beautiful senior while helping out in the botanical garden. They became inseparable, walking home together every single day after school. One rainy afternoon, surrounded by lilies that symbolize pure love, the atmosphere was just right. And then the unthinkable happened, they actually shared a kiss. Shenxiu is absolutely swooning over this legendary romance. But wait, if it was that perfect, why on earth did they lose touch? Suddenly, the sound of a roaring engine cuts through their dramatic conversation. A massive motorcycle screeches to a halt right in front of them. This biker is serving major, handsome Jai energy and her gaze is intense. Shenxiu is totally starstruck by this cool stranger appearing out of nowhere. Without a word, the biker tosses over a spare helmet. She demands Yu get on, and before Shenxiu can even blink, her friend is being kidnapped by the mysterious biker. Shenxiu is left in the dust, wondering what the heck just happened to her afternoon. Cut to the liberal arts building, where the vibes in class are officially rancid. Shenxiu is glued to her phone, looking totally miserable and neglected. Meanwhile, Yu is having a full-blown internal crisis, her emotions bubbling like soda. She notices Shenxiu smiling at her phone and feels a sharp, savage pang of jealousy. Is she texting that biker girl? Why does she look so happy? Shenxiu keeps tapping her desk, driving Yu absolutely crazy with the noise. Finally, a note is slid across the table to break the tension. It's a simple pay attention in class, but for Shenxiu it's a total victory. Our girl is literally celebrating in her head because her crush finally noticed her. She nervously asks what Yu wants her to do to make it up to her. Yu looks over with a soft, thoughtful expression. She pushes a note back, locking eyes with her for a brief, electric second. Shenxiu takes a literal critical hit to the heart from that smile. She's so overwhelmed, she starts banging her head on the desk in a chaotic panic. Of course, the professor isn't blind and calls her out for banging the desk nonstop. Shenxiu is mortified and ready to evaporate into the floor. But Yu, the ultimate MVP, stands up to save her from the embarrassment. She distracts the professor with a brilliant academic argument to shift the focus. Shenxiu is back to being a total simp, amazed that her girl can tease her and ace a lecture at the same time. Later at karaoke, the tension only gets thicker as the class monitor gets put on the spot. When asked if she likes anyone, Shenxiu nearly chokes on her drink. Yu leans in dangerously close, the tension reaching a breaking point. She whispers the ultimate question, "Do you like me?" Butterflies are practically exploding in the room as Shenxiu freezes. Yu realizes our girl is being sneaky and hiding her true feelings. She leans in for the kill, promising to finally give her an answer. But first, she takes the bottle away, no liquid courage allowed for this confession. She gives a look that says she really likes what she's seeing. Her smile is practically glowing as she leans in. Our girl pink hair is caught completely off guard, her face turning a shade of red that rivals a sunset. She looks into those eyes and sees the entire night sky reflected back at her. Fireworks begin to bloom in the distance, matching the explosions happening in her heart. Her pulse is going absolutely haywire, thumping loud enough to drown out the party. Everyone else is glued to the screens watching the show. The crowd is cheering as the sky lights up with a series of massive bangs. Shenxiu isn't about to let the night end here and grabs our poor heroine's hands with a savage grin. Before Zuki can even process what's happening, their fingers are locked tight. Shenxiu practically drags her away from the boring crowd. Zuki feels like the heavy doors guarding her heart are finally swinging wide open. They burst out of the room like they're escaping a prison. Zuki realizes that Shenxiu isn't just taking her out of a party, but out of the metaphorical fortress she built around herself. All those walls are just crumbling down in an instant. They race up the stairs together as if the world is ending. Zuki looks at her friend with a mix of awe and total confusion. She can't stop staring at that determined profile. Everything about her feels lighter, almost like she's floating through a dream. But then Shenxiu takes the chaos to a whole new level and jumps right onto the railing. Her boots click against the metal high above the ground. She stands there like a queen of the night, framed by exploding fireworks. She shouts that she feels so happy today that she could actually fly. Zuki is sweating bullets, looking at that wild, ecstatic smile. She begs Shenxiu to come down before she ends up as a pancake on the pavement. But Shenxiu just laughs and steps right off into the empty air. She starts flapping her arms like a total dork. And suddenly the impossible happens, she's actually hovering. Zuki can only stare in absolute shock, her brain short-circuiting. Shenxiu reaches out a hand, telling her to trust her and hold on. Our girl hesitantly reaches back, her hand trembling. Shenxiu promises to keep her safe and never let go. With one swift pull, they are both soaring into the night sky. They drift high above the city as the world turns into a blur of lights. Fireworks explode all around them in a chaotic symphony of blue and gold. It's a view most people would die for. Shenxiu is having the time of her life, laughing like a maniac. She looks absolutely radiant in the glow of the sparks. Zuki clings to her for dear life, her heart racing faster than the explosions. They are literally suspended in the clouds. Shenxiu swoons over how beautiful the view is from up here. But Zuki only has eyes for one person, saying the most important part is that she's watching them with Shenxiu. The tension is so thick you could cut it with a knife as they lean in close. Everything else just fades into a soft white light. Shenxiu softly calls her name, her eyes shimmering with something deeper than the fireworks. She finally lets it out, confessing that she likes Zuki more than anything in the world. She asks if they can stay together forever. The wind whips through their hair as the moment hangs in the air. The hem of her dress flutters as they drift. Zuki is blushing so hard she might actually overheat. They slowly close the distance, their lips almost touching in a dreamlike haze. Zuki whispers her acceptance, and her face is practically glowing with joy. Even the fireworks seem to celebrate, forming beautiful butterfly shapes in the sky. It's the most romantic scene ever captured on screen. They share a magical kiss high above the world. It's pure, unadulterated bliss. Everything fades into a beautiful, white silence. But the romance quickly turns into a comedy when Shenxiu decides they should fly even higher. She's so hyped she thinks they can make it all the way to outer space. She's practically vibrating with energy. Zuki starts to panic, sweating as they climb higher and higher. She begs Shenxiu to calm down before they lose oxygen. They start bobbing around awkwardly in the air. Shenxiu feels personally attacked by Zuki's logic and physics facts. They spin around like a pair of lost balloons. Zuki suggests it's probably time to get back to solid ground. She admits she feels super unsafe being this high up. She's terrified Shenxiu might lose control of her powers and drop them both. Shenxiu gets a mischievous look, thinking her girl is being way too much of a buzzkill. She decides to teach her a lesson and lets go of her hand. Zuki screams bloody murder as she starts plummeting toward the earth. She's tumbling through the dark clouds, convinced this is the end. Shenxiu suddenly realizes she actually can't control the descent and starts panicking too. Our girl is spiraling, wondering how things went south so fast. Shenxiu dives after her, desperate to catch her. Their hands strain to reach each other in the darkness. Shenxiu manages to flash a confident smirk and grabs Zuki's arm just in time. She pulls her back into a tight, protective embrace. Zuki is trembling as she's yanked back to safety. They end up back in each other's arms, the danger only making the moment more intense. Zuki's hair is a mess, but she's just glad to be alive. They share another blush-inducing moment in the sky. Their eyes lock again, and the heat between them is undeniable. Zuki is still a blushing mess, trying to catch her breath. She looks up into those eyes and feels her heart melt. But then the realization hits. Zuki looks at her and realizes Shenxiu totally faked the loss of control just to get another hug. Shenxiu just gives her a savage, playful look. She basically tells her that's what she gets for ruining the mood with her science talk. They continue to drift together, the night far from over. Meanwhile, on the winding mountain roads, a motorcycle is absolutely tearing it up. The bike leans dangerously low as it speeds through the darkness. The passenger is clinging on for dear life, shaking like a leaf. They're zooming around corners like they've got a death wish. They finally pull over at a scenic overlook to watch the fireworks from afar. Both riders are decked out in full gear. The lead rider starts to pull off their helmet, and out comes a gorgeous woman with flowing purple hair. She looks incredibly cool and collected. She turns to look at her passenger with a knowing look. The passenger can only stare back, eyes wide behind their visor. Our girl is completely lost in her own world as she clutches the helmet. But Kyan Kian isn't having any of this spacing out and demands she hand the gear over right now. They look out over the horizon as fireworks begin to paint the night sky in brilliant white. It's a stunning view from the cliffside, but the tension between them is thicker than the humid air. Yu checks her phone, seeing messages praising her for being a total badass, but she doesn't feel like one. The mood turns icy when Kyan Kian asks why she was suddenly blocked and why Yu vanished right before their big exams. Kyan Kian stares into the distance, her expression stoic and unreadable. She drops a heavy truth bomb, telling her that a wise person doesn't stand under a dangerous wall, essentially calling their past a disaster waiting to happen. Yu can only look up at her in silence, feeling the weight of those words. Kyan Kian's eyes are cold as she tells her to just stay behind the guardrail where it's safe. We flash back 4 years to when the pressure of college entrance exams was reaching a breaking point. Kyan Kian noticed a junior high student standing alone under a tree in the early morning light. It was a young Yu, looking up at the branches with a strange intensity. Even after the sun began to set and school let out, the girl hadn't moved an inch. Kyan Kian wondered what on earth could keep someone standing there for hours. Suddenly, a massive storm rolled in and the city was hit with a savage downpour. Kyan Kian rushed through the rain, using her jacket as a makeshift shield. She spotted Yu still standing in the middle of the deluge and screamed at her to get inside before she caught her death. Yu looked up, soaked to the bone and completely bewildered. Kyan Kian didn't wait for an answer and threw her jacket over both of them to provide some cover. That's when she saw it. Our poor heroine was protecting a tiny baby bird that had been blown out of its nest. Kyan Kian's heart melted as she realized Yu was risking a fever just to keep a little creature dry. They scrambled for the nearest shelter, huddling together as the rain hammered against the roof. They ended up in a greenhouse, surrounded by lush greenery while the storm raged outside. The little bird started chirping, safe and sound thanks to Yu's stubbornness. Kyan Kian couldn't help but smile at how precious the scene was. But she quickly put on her serious face, lecturing the girl about not putting herself in danger for the sake of being a hero. Back in the present, the atmosphere at the dorm is absolutely gloomy. Everyone is wearing long faces because of a scandal involving an upperclassman. Rumors are flying that her family found intimate photos of her with another girl, and now her entire future is ruined. Yu's eyes go wide with a mix of shock and soul-crushing guilt. She can't hold it in anymore and confesses to the group that she was the one who took the initiative and kissed her. That night, Kyan Kian drifts into a surreal dream where a glowing, ghostly Titanic appears in the sky. She finds herself wandering the empty, opulent decks of the ship. She enters a room filled with drawing supplies and a vintage car, feeling like she stepped into a movie. The faint sound of music begins to echo through the halls. She follows the melody, her heart racing as the notes get louder. In the grand ballroom, she finds Zixi dressed in a sharp tuxedo, playing a haunting piece on the piano. Her fingers dance across the keys with a grace that feels otherworldly. Zixi looks up, her eyes filled with a deep sadness as she admits that everything feels unreal. She mentions that she only asked Kyan Kian out because she was under the influence, and the lack of a clear answer is killing her. Zixi tries to laugh it off as nonsense, claiming her mind isn't clear in this dream state, but Kyan Kian's expression remains frozen. She finally breaks the silence with a savage confession, admitting that she never actually wanted to agree to what Zixi asked of her. Zuki's heart skips a beat as he wonders if she's actually remembering the moments before they fell asleep. He clenches his fist in a panic, terrified that his dream of them dating is about to crumble into dust. Our poor hero is so insecure that he actually offers her a chance to take back her confession. He tells her that if she's changed her mind, he'll accept it without a single complaint. He's literally giving her an escape rope, telling her she can walk away whenever she wants. As the film strip of their memories begins to blur and spin, we find them back in that high-pressure moment. He's practically begging her to redo the scene, offering to bear all the pain himself. He's even willing to pretend he doesn't remember a thing and treat their entire connection as nothing more than a fleeting dream. It's honestly so dramatic that our girl can't help but tear up at how much this man is willing to sacrifice for her. She finally looks him in the eye and asks the question we've all been dying to know. When exactly did he start falling for her? He reveals that his heart was stolen way back in their second year of high school. While the rest of the class was busy cheering because gym class was canceled, he was stuck in his own head, feeling heavy-hearted and alone. He watched her from the sidelines, admiring her free spirit from a distance. While he was struggling, he saw her sitting by the window, playing the part of the perfect student while clearly longing for more. He didn't just fall for her when she saved him from bullies. He's been swooning over her long before she ever took revenge on his behalf. He reaches out to caress her cheek, proving that his feelings have deep, ancient roots. The atmosphere becomes absolutely magical, surrounded by glowing butterflies as they finally share a long-awaited, passionate kiss. He admits that while he used to believe in being a solitary hero, seeing his reflection in her eyes changed everything. No matter how difficult the road ahead gets, he's determined to stay by her side forever. After that emotional roller coaster, we cut to a chaotic boba date at the mall. Our hero is acting incredibly suspicious, trying to sneakily hide a secret key inside a cup sleeve. He's sweating bullets and accidentally hands her the wrong drink, leading to a hilarious chibai-style panic. He scrambles to switch the cups back, laughing nervously while our girl gives him the ultimate side-eye. She knows something is up, wondering why on earth he's so flustered over a room temperature drink. When she points out that her straw is bent and he needs to get a new one, his brain basically short-circuits. To stop her from asking too many questions about his secret plan, he decides to use the ultimate distraction and pulls her in for a surprise kiss right in the middle of the crowd. Our heroine is absolutely malfunctioning, stuttering about how public displays of affection are against the rules. He just smirks, teasing her that if she keeps hiding the truth, he'll just have to find somewhere else to kiss her next. Zuki lanes in dangerously close, demanding the truth from our poor heroine. Zuzu can't handle the heat and immediately surrenders to the pressure. Our girl admits she's totally whipped and points out the secret hidden in the cup sleeve. Inside is a beautiful heart-shaped key, leaving Zuki absolutely stunned. She swoons over the gift, realizing Zuzu put a lot of thought into this surprise. It's a small but savage way to win her heart. Zuzu watches her reaction, hoping this little token is enough. Zuki wags her metaphorical tail, dying to know what this mysterious key actually unlocks. But Zuzu plays it cool, giving her a cheeky smile and telling her to start guessing. Our girl is being a total tease, watching Zuki's expectant face. She drops a cryptic hint about the answer being right in front of her eyes. Suddenly, they find themselves being led away by a very determined Zuzu. They end up on a tiny mall train, and the chaos is real as a random kid joins their ride. Zuzu is having a blast, laughing at the absurdity of it all. She even teases Zuki for being so brave to ride a train without an adult. In this moment, she sees a softer side of Zuki that nobody else gets to witness. A few days ago, Zuzu was in her dorm, avoiding Comic-Con invites to plan something much bigger. Her friends are absolutely shook when they see her elaborate conspiracy board of travel spots. They joke that she's planning a heist, but it's just a super detailed 3-day itinerary for her and her favorite girl. She's got photos of every romantic spot in the neighboring city ready to go. From boating on a peaceful lake to camping under the stars, she even planned a museum trip followed by a night view of the river. But then she starts to panic, wondering if all these expectations will be too much for Zuki to handle. Back on the train, Zuki notices Zuzu is off in another world and pulls her back to reality. As the train starts moving, Zuzu looks at her and thinks about how she wants to experience everything with her. She even considers throwing in an amusement park trip just to see that smile again. But when she asks about holiday plans, the mood shifts instantly. Zuki realizes Zuzu has been planning a future for them, and the guilt starts to set in. Her hand trembles as she prepares to drop the hammer. With a heavy heart, Zuki finally says she's sorry, effectively crushing our girl's dreams. Zuzu tries to act like it's fine, putting on a brave face and claiming it was just a spur-of-the-moment thought. Zuki knows it's a lie and feels like her own expectations are suffocating Zuzu. It's like a swarm of dark butterflies is landing on her, representing the weight of their unspoken feelings. The atmosphere becomes heavy as these purple butterflies surround them. They land on her hair and shoulders, a visual manifestation of the pressure she feels. Zuki realizes she can't keep doing this to her. Zuzu suddenly asks about long flights, trying to change the subject. She hands over her sketchbook, telling Zuki to open it only after she's been on a plane for a long time. It's a final puzzle for her to solve. Then Zuzu leans in for the ultimate savage move, whispering into her ear. She reveals the biggest secret of all, that she actually liked her first, and the answer to everything is hidden right inside. Far away from the peace of home, our girl is stuck in a floating metal tube with the one person she can't escape, her mother. Even a tiny cricket has more freedom than her right now, as she soars through the clouds while her heart stays grounded. A polite stewardess offers a refreshing drink to lighten the mood. But even a summer dusk cocktail can't wash away the tension, while her mom sips on expensive champagne and acts like the ultimate girlboss. Our poor heroine sticks to juice, looking like a literal middle schooler in comparison. She tries to bury her nose in a book of poetry to avoid the inevitable lecture. But mom isn't having it, sitting there looking like she's about to drop the most savage career critique of the century. She calls her daughter's major useless and demands she start networking for an MBA immediately. Forget winter vacation. Mom has already decided her entire future involves working for Uncle Jiang to gain management experience. Our girl is absolutely shook because this ruins all her secret plans with Zixu. She looks down at her book, feeling the weight of her mother's expectations crushing her soul. Her hands tremble against the pages as she realizes she's basically a prisoner in high-end business casual. Mom crosses her arms, demanding to know exactly what plans could possibly be more important than her future. The interrogation is intense, and our girl is officially sweating bullets. She knows that until she's financially independent, her secret relationship has to stay in the shadows. One wrong word and everything she loves will be burned to the ground. She looks like she's about to cry, caught between her duty and her heart. She grips the pages of her book so hard they might rip. The poetry she's reading about death and unhappy women is starting to feel way too relatable. Back on solid ground, a little cricket struggles in a puddle, a perfect metaphor for our girl's chaotic life. Her friend Zhong watches the little guy, wondering what it's doing out on the balcony. The cricket finally finds its footing on a leaf, ready for a comeback. With one massive leap, it flies through the air and lands right on the laundry. Zhong is absolutely stunned that a bug can jump that high. Our girl explains that crickets can jump dozens of times their body length. But there's a catch: if you keep a cricket in a box for too long, it'll keep hitting the lid and eventually give up. Even if you take the lid off, the poor thing will never jump higher than that invisible barrier again. It's a tragic psychological cage, and our girl feels like she's the one stuck in the jar. She looks at the cricket on the shirt, seeing her own reflection in its struggle. Zhong looks at her with deep concern, realizing the invisible shackles are everywhere. Our poor heroine looks so small and defeated, just waiting for the next blow. She sits there, lost in her own head, feeling the weight of the world. Later, the vibe shifts to a neon-lit bar called Girls Only. It's packed with people looking for a good time, but the drama is already brewing. Our girl and her friends are waiting, checking their phones every 5 seconds. She's desperately waiting for a text from Care, hoping she landed safely. Finally, the phone pings, everyone is here. A girl in a ridiculous sheep mask bursts in with a new friend in tow. She introduces her bodyguard for the night, Zhong Shenxiu, who looks like she's 100% done with everyone's nonsense. Shenxiu is a literature major who clearly didn't have anything better to do on a holiday. She gives a dry hello, looking cool and collected. The group gathers around, but the sheep mask girl is already planning her escape to the bathroom. As soon as she leaves, the conversation turns to why they're even at a bar in the first place. They're actually there to keep an eye on a minor, taking their big sister responsibilities way too seriously. It's all fun and games until someone mentions a past breakup. Suddenly, the mood sours as a drink is splashed right in Zhao face. A blonde girl is screaming about self-respect and cheating. She accuses Zhao of deceiving women and being engaged to some guy back home. The insults are flying fast and hard, and then bam, a massive slap echoes through the bar. Zhao is left reeling, her face stinging from the blow. But before the blonde can do more damage, Pei Zai steps in, looking absolutely savage. She isn't about to let some random girl bully her friend. She stands her ground, shielding Zhao from the verbal assault. The blonde is losing her mind, calling them names and mocking their friendship. She even accuses Pei Zai of raising a puppy, which is just low. Pei Zai's eyes go cold as she glares at the intruder. She grabs the blonde's arm with a grip of steel. She tells her she can say whatever she wants about her, but she better keep Zhao name out of her mouth. Outside in the cool night air, the adrenaline finally fades. Zhao tries to wash the smell of alcohol and the sting of the slap off her face. Pei Zai gently wraps a towel around her, worried she'll catch a cold in the autumn. Zhao looks up, her eyes swimming with tears she can no longer hold back. She breaks down, sobbing that she had no choice in the matter. She collapses into a hug, finally letting out all the pain she's been hiding. Her family had cornered her, taking away her ID and her phone so she couldn't escape. They treated her like a prisoner in her own home. If she didn't agree to their demands, they were going to ruin her education and her entire future. She felt completely helpless, a cricket trapped in a box with no way out. They hold each other in the moonlight, two souls against a world that keeps trying to tear them apart. 22 years ago in Ningcheng, a desperate father waits outside the operating room. The doctor finally emerges, looking exhausted. The man rushes forward, begging to know if his wife is okay. The doctor gives him the best news possible: the operation was a total success. He's so overcome with joy that he practically tackles the doctor in a massive hug, thanking him for being a miracle worker. But the mood dampens when the doctor warns that it will be nearly impossible for his wife to get pregnant again. He doesn't care, as long as his wife is healthy, nothing else matters. But a much darker scene is unfolding with the family next door. The nurse calls for Wu Yao's family, and Pei Buki and his relatives crowd around, their faces full of greedy expectation as they ask if it's a boy. They swarm the nurse like vultures, but when she calmly announces that it's a girl, the atmosphere turns toxic instantly. The father is livid, claiming it must be a mistake because his wife only ate sour food during the pregnancy. The mother wails that it's a sin against their family line. They actually have the audacity to call the newborn a money waster right in front of the staff. They start screaming at the doctors, blaming them for the baby's gender. The grandmother goes full villain, spitting that she would have forced an abortion if she'd known it was a girl, complaining about all the good food she wasted on the mother. While they're busy being human garbage, the kind father from before, Zhang Yixin, looks at the rejected baby with nothing but tenderness. He marvels at how good she is, staying quiet and peaceful despite the chaos. He looks down at her and tells the trash family that while they might not want her, she's exactly what he's been praying for. Peibuki tells him to take the burden and raise her himself then. Yishin agrees, but warns them they can never try to take her back later, while the grandmother just sneers that the child is a failure anyway. Years pass and we see the reality of our poor girl's childhood. She watches longingly as a pear is peeled. She looks on with big, hopeful eyes. But her mother snaps at her, telling her the fruit is for her brother and she's only allowed to have the peels. Our girl just quietly accepts her fate, used to getting the leftovers of life. Back in the present, our girl catches up with a friend. Her friend remembers how her family practically kept her a prisoner until her college exams. They discuss the current drama, and her friend warns her to be more careful after everything she's been through. Our girl admits that things went sideways recently. Apparently, her ex-girlfriend showed up in their hometown just 2 months after the breakup. The trash ex went straight to the school and made a massive, embarrassing scene. Her friend asks what she's going to do now that she's giving up on graduate school. Our girl just stares into the distance. She hasn't even let herself think about the future yet. She mentions the motorcycle she bought with her own hard-earned savings. She's decided that since everything is already ruined, she might as well do what she actually wants for once. She even cut her hair short and got highlights to signal her rebellion. She nervously asks her friend if the new look actually suits her. Her friend is stunned into silence. She watches our girl's quiet smile and wonders why she's always so calm even when her world is burning. Whether it's her shocking new appearance or the drama at school, she just accepts it all. She looks at her and realizes that she's always admired that steady, unwavering spirit. Later, the scene shifts to the cold luxury of a first-class cabin. Our heroine's mother sits there looking like an ice queen. She demands to know what our girl's plans are for the upcoming winter vacation. Our poor girl is completely speechless. She knows she has to keep her relationship with Zixu a total secret until she's finally independent. She grips her book so hard her hands tremble. Her mother starts tapping her finger, the sound echoing like a death knell. The pressure is suffocating. Finally, our girl finds her voice. She tells her mother she doesn't want to do the internship. Her mother's gaze is razor sharp as she warns her not to let unplanned things mess with her future. The seat partition rises with a mechanical buzz, cutting her off. Her mother shuts the world out. She dismisses our girl, saying she needs to rest for the jet lag. Our girl is left staring at the wall. She feels her life being boxed in once again. She sits in the shadows of the cabin. She feels like she'll never be as free as the woman sitting right next to her. She feels tiny and insignificant. She wonders why the world won't just accept her for who she is. It feels like she's trapped in a giant invisible maze. She's just going around in circles, never finding an exit. No matter where she turns, there's another wall. She feels stuck in the same miserable place. The partition feels like a prison cell. She can't see a way to escape her mother's shadow. In her heart, she cries out for Zixu, feeling completely lost. Suddenly, a spark of light breaks through the darkness. A shimmering, magical key appears before her. She looks up, her eyes wide with wonder. A glowing diary floats into view. She reaches out to hold it. Inside, she finds sketches of her own life, documenting every moment she worked harder than anyone else. She realizes that Zixu has seen her true self all along. This realization shatters the maze. The walls of her mother's expectations explode into fragments. She finally sees her guiding light. Back in the real world, she checks her phone to see a heartwarming message from Zixu. In a quiet studio, someone is drawing with feverish intensity. The pencil flies across the paper. They finally set the tool down and hold up the finished drawing. They pack up their gear, moving with a new sense of purpose. A girl enters the room, surprised to find someone still there. She blinks in confusion. She realizes it's the class monitor. Our girl looks back, finally looking like she's ready to face the world on her own terms. Our girl is checking out her new face, absolutely shook by the sudden transformation. She stares into the bathroom mirror, confirming that this impossible switch is actually happening. She even tries booping her own nose, finding her new look way too adorable for its own good. Suddenly, a realization hits her like a freight train. If she's in this body, then the original owner must be in hers. She frantically grabs her phone to text for some desperate answers. Meanwhile, the real owner of the body is waking up to a screen full of chaotic messages. She's still buried under the covers, probably wishing this was all just a fever dream. A sharp knock on the door ruins her morning peace. A woman with long, dark hair is standing there, clearly not in the mood for games. She checks her watch, looking like a total boss who has zero time for delays. Our poor heroine is sweating bullets, realizing she has no idea how to handle this intense situation. Later, she ends up at a food stall, trying to blend in while her nerves are absolutely fried. The smell of grilled sausages fills the air, and she can't resist a little snack therapy. She grabs a skewer, thanking the vendor while trying to keep her cool. While munching away, she checks her phone, wondering if her counterpart is suffering as much as she is. She decides to play it cool, standing against a wall like a total main character. But then tragedy strikes when her precious snack hits the floor in a moment of total clumsiness. Back at the house, the boss lady is sitting on the couch, wondering why her daughter isn't ready yet. She's looking pretty suspicious, suspecting some kind of teenage rebellion is afoot. She rubs her temples, feeling a massive headache coming on from all this drama. Suddenly, our girl poofs into the room, looking completely lost and dazed. She's standing there like a deer in headlights, questioning her entire existence. The mother figure is ready to head out, totally oblivious to the soul swap chaos. Our girl is staring blankly, trying to process that this powerful woman is her new mom. She realizes she's standing in front of the city's most outstanding entrepreneur, and the pressure is terrifying. The tension in the room is thick enough to cut with a knife. She's convinced she's doomed and that her cover will be blown in 5 seconds flat. But instead of a lecture, her mom just roasts her for wearing such ugly clothes. Savage, she promises to buy her something new, probably just to save her own reputation. Next thing we know, our girl is being forced into a much more formal outfit. She's struggling with the bow, wondering if the original owner liked being choked by high fashion. Mom reminds her that image is everything when they're out in public. They arrive at a gorgeous location, and our girl's eyes light up with pure excitement. Mom starts laying out the highbrow plan for the day, but our girl has much more chaotic ideas. She starts begging to ride the Ferris wheel, acting like a total child. She even pulls out the ultimate weapon, the puppy dog eyes. Mom is officially done, wondering why her daughter is acting so wild today. Our girl waves a dramatic goodbye to her dreams as she's dragged away. But she spots something adorable and weirdly shaped, immediately getting distracted again. She switches tactics, calling her mom the best in the universe to get her way. The flattery actually works, and they share a rare, cute moment of bonding. Mom finally gives in, telling her to stop messing around so they can actually have fun. Our girl is overjoyed, clinging to her mom like a happy little koala. She's even looking forward to grabbing some fish and chips because at this point, why not? High above the city, the air in the Ferris wheel is thick with an awkward silence. Our girl Zuki is acting way too quiet for someone who was begging to go on this ride. Her mother, Zhong Shenxiu, can't help but notice the tray of untouched junk food sitting between them. Just the sight of those fries triggers a memory from 10 years ago. Back then, a much younger Shenxiu was a strict enforcer of healthy eating. She had told a tiny Zuki that junk food was strictly off-limits to keep her healthy. Our poor heroine had simply nodded, her little heart breaking as she clutched her mother's hand. While Zuki was always the obedient one, her brother was a total chaotic mess, screaming for the snacks their father bought him. That day ended with a bitter reminder of a messy divorce and a family being torn apart. Shenxiu realizes now that since that specific day, her daughter hasn't touched a single fry. She spent a decade pushing Zuki to be a mature adult while she focused solely on her own career ambitions. Looking across at the woman her daughter has become, the guilt finally hits her like a truck. She realized she missed the entire transition from child to adult without even noticing. With a heavy heart, she finally asks the question she's been terrified of: does Zuki actually think she's been a good mother? Zuki looks genuinely stunned by the sudden vulnerability. Shenxiu starts spiraling, listing every school meeting she missed and every vacation she cut short just to handle work. She's convinced she's a total failure in the parenting department, but our girl doesn't hesitate for a second, telling her she's absolutely wrong. Sure, she wasn't a traditional mom, but she was the most powerful, independent role model a girl could ask for. Zuki has always been proud to be her daughter. A rare, genuine smile finally breaks across Shenxiu's face as the tension melts away. The fear of being abandoned or considered disobedient finally evaporates into the sky. Back at the office, the grind never stops as Shenxiu dives back into her laptop. Zuki sneaks in, looking suspicious as she nervously glances around the room. She plays it off by offering her hardworking mom a much-needed shoulder rub. It feels amazing, but Shenxiu is far too observant for her own moving parts. She knows her daughter is definitely hiding something. Behind closed doors, Zuki was actually busy smuggling takeout to a hungry friend in secret. When mom knocks, our girl goes into full panic mode, pretending she's just heading for a shower. But you can't hide the scent of fried grease from a pro, and Shenxiu immediately sniffs out the truth. Instead of a lecture, Shenxiu offers a surprising olive branch. She tells Zuki that if she hates the local dishes, she should just ask the hotel staff for something else instead of forcing herself to eat what she doesn't like. Zuki is floored. The woman who used to make constant demands is finally giving her the freedom to say no. They share a rare moment of perfect mutual understanding. But the peace is short-lived when Shenxiu announces she has to fly out for business tomorrow. Instead of getting upset or lonely, Zuki calmly says she'll stay behind and handle the rest of the trip alone. Seeing her daughter so confident and self-reliant is a bittersweet pill to swallow. As they say their goodnights, the room feels a little colder than before. Zuki realizes she isn't that scared little girl anymore. And as Shenxiu sits alone with her tea, her heart feels strangely empty now that her daughter finally doesn't need her protection. Our poor heroine is left alone with her thoughts while the girl she likes is literally in the next room. She tries to play it cool by reading, but she can't even focus on a single sentence. Finally, she just tosses the book aside because her brain is doing backflips. The sound of the shower is making her realize that the other girl is currently washing her body. It's a total crisis as she wonders how her crush can be so innocent and unbothered by all of this. She thinks back to their intimate moments, trying to convince herself it was all just a dream. But in reality, this is the first time they've ever been this close. She's losing her mind over how someone can be so calm while she's over here trembling. Suddenly, the door swings open and our girl is hit with a wave of post-bath steam and pure beauty. She's staring so hard it's getting awkward, and her chibai self is practically vibrating with nerves. The view is honestly a lot to handle, and she's trying her best not to swoon on the spot. She's so distracted by the aesthetic vibes that she almost misses the biggest news of the night. Zuzu finally realizes the miracle has happened. She's officially back to her original body. She's absolutely over the moon, celebrating her return to normalcy. We jump back 20 minutes to see her desperate prayers in the shower. She was literally begging the universe to let her change back, promising to never binge read again if she could just be herself. It looks like her frantic bargaining actually worked out for once. Back in the present, the two of them are sitting on the bed, and the tension is thick enough to cut with a knife. Our heroine is hyper-aware of every little movement. Those purple eyes are searching for an escape from this incredibly ambiguous atmosphere. She's sweating bullets as she tries to figure out what to say next. They start with some weak small talk about the book, but Ziu has to admit it's actually terrible. She can't exactly say she didn't read a single word because she was too busy being a chaotic mess. They realize they've been awake for nearly 20 hours, and the exhaustion is finally starting to hit. Despite the tired eyes, our girl is still trying to play it cool with a nervous laugh. Finally, it's time to call it a night and she clicks off the lamp. They settle into bed, but sleep is the last thing on her mind. Under the glow of the moonlight, the room feels way too quiet. They're lying side by side, and every inch of space between them feels like a mile. Her heart is thumping so loud she's worried it'll wake the neighbors. She steals a glance, her face heating up as she admires her companion. The heartbeat only gets faster as she fights the urge to reach out. Her hand slowly inches forward, craving just a tiny bit of closeness. She's practically holding her breath as she reaches across the sheets. When their fingers finally make contact, she nearly jumps out of her skin. She quickly pulls back, hoping the other girl is deep enough in dreamland to not notice. She closes her eyes tight, her face turning a bright shade of crimson. But the connection is already made and the warmth is lingering. She peeks again, her heart doing another round of gymnastics. It turns out the feeling is mutual, as they both yearn to be just a little bit closer. Their hands find each other again, weaving together in a silent, beautiful moment. The bedding ruffles as they shift, neither of them truly ready to let go. Every touch feels like a spark in the dark. They clasp hands firmly, finally finding the comfort they were both searching. Our girl is wide awake now, her mind racing at a million miles per hour. She realizes the other girl isn't sleeping either, and the silence is finally broken. The bath might have refreshed them, but the conversation is what's really keeping them up. A soft caress on the cheek sends her heart into overdrive. Zuki admits she doesn't want to go to bed yet because she has something important to say. The atmosphere shifts as they both sit up, the butterflies in Zuzu's stomach going wild. She's looking at Zuki with pure curiosity, wondering what's coming next. It turns out Zuki found something interesting in the sketchbook during the flight. Our girl is immediately in panic mode, sweating as she realizes her secret art might have been discovered. She tries to pull the ultimate savage move and pretends to be fast asleep. She's even faking snores, hoping to escape the interrogation. But Zuki isn't buying it for a second and leans in dangerously close. She starts singing a soft lullaby, calling her a sweet little baby to draw her out. It's a total trap, and our heroine is forced to open her eyes and face the music. Zuki just smiles, knowing exactly what she was up to. They end up huddling under the covers together with a light, diving into the sketchbook. Zuki wants to know why every single drawing in there is a portrait of her. Zuzu tries to explain it away as practice, blushing furiously as she makes up excuses. They look through the pages together, and the evidence of her crush is literally everywhere. Our heroine finally realizes that she's cared about this girl for a lot longer than she thought. They get even closer as they revisit old memories through the sketches. Zuzu points out a specific scene by the lake, admitting she was watching her the whole time. They're both smiling now, the awkwardness melting away to something much sweeter. As Zuzu finally drifts off to sleep on her shoulder, the real truth comes out. It wasn't just chance that brought them back together. It was a calculated move by someone who didn't want her to run away after that first kiss. Zuki is at the airport lounge, saying her final goodbyes before heading to the local art festival. Her mom tells her to stay safe and pay attention to her surroundings. Our girl tries to leave, but her mom keeps nagging like a typical parent. Just as she is about to walk away, a mysterious voice echoes in her head, telling her to give her mom one last hug. She's confused about where the voice came from, but she listens anyway, giving her mom a tight squeeze. After a sentimental farewell, she heads out, promising to have a safe trip. Her mom watches her go with a soft smile, though our heroine is already onto her next adventure. She meets up with Xiu at the art festival, and the two are already being adorable and holding hands. They lose themselves in the exhibits, playing with hand shadows and paper cranes. They even try out the talking tubes, sharing secrets across the colorful pipes. Our girl is having the time of her life, acting like a total kid again. But things take a spicy turn when she picks up a masquerade mask. Xiu leans in close, the atmosphere suddenly becoming heavy with romance. Xiu teases her, claiming she needs to be punished for kissing someone without permission. Our heroine nervously asks what the punishment is, but Xiu just gives her a look that says everything. Xiu puts on a bunny mask, looking absolutely savage and ready for mischief. Before Zuki can react, Xiu pulls her in for a deep, breathless kiss. The world around them fades into flowers and butterflies as they lose themselves in the moment. When they finally pull apart, they are both blushing harder than a sunset. Xiu looks at our girl with those shimmering eyes, thinking to herself that Zuki is just too cute and she wants another round. They wander through the festival decorations, and Xiu asks if she ever figured out the secret behind her superpowers. Zuki flashes back to high school, remembering a portrait she once drew. She admits she used to practice all night because she didn't think she was good enough. But suddenly they both freeze in realization. Their eyes go wide as they realize something chaotic is happening. They're both hearing each other's inner thoughts like they're on the same radio channel. Telepathy in this economy. Xiu thinks this is actually super convenient. But our poor heroine is sweating bullets because now her secret plans are totally exposed. They stumble upon an art experience area where the instructor encourages them to just draw whatever they like. They grab their supplies, ready to put their feelings on paper. They find a spot in the drawing area surrounded by festive balloons. Our heroines sit down, but Zuki's brain is clearly heading in a dark direction. Xiu peeks at her thoughts and is absolutely horrified. Zuki is imagining a big bad wolf devouring a helpless little rabbit, which is a bit too much for a public festival. Xiu tells her to get rid of that idea immediately, shaking her head at the savage imagery. They lock eyes, and for a second, the drawing is the last thing on their minds. The chibai tension is real as they stare each other down. Zuki admits that whenever she tries to draw, her mind just turns into a giant, tangled mess of scribbles. She slumps over, totally defeated by her own artistic block. Xiu tells her to forget about the drawing and just enjoy the vacation together. But as she stands up, Xiu looks at her with a soft expression, thinking it's such a shame she's giving up. Xiu confesses that she actually loves Zuki's drawings and how focused she gets when she creates. She looks at her with total sincerity. She tells her that she can feel the genuine love for art in every single stroke. Zuki is touched, her heart fluttering at the unexpected praise. Xiu grabs her hand firmly, looking her straight in the eye. She reminds our heroine that she helped her in the past, so now it's her turn to return the favor. They stand amidst a flurry of butterflies, the bond between them stronger than ever. Together, they make a heart with their hands, promising to face whatever chaotic superpower comes next. Surrounded by festive balloons and memories, our girl begins to open up about the heavy weight she's been carrying. It turns out that back when she was an art student, things weren't exactly a masterpiece. She was constantly crushed under the suffocating opinions of everyone around her, leaving her feeling small and utterly defeated. Every word felt like a sharp jab, telling her she might as well just give up if she didn't have the heart for it. Even the simplest moments were tainted by the judgmental stares of those who didn't understand her passion. People would look at her with such disappointment, as if her struggle to find joy in her craft was some kind of personal insult to them. Her teacher was the absolute worst, screaming that she was throwing away her future. He ranted about exam scores and top-tier schools like Manhwa, making it feel like her worth was nothing more than a number on a page. The pressure finally caused her world to shatter into a million pieces. Back in the present, our heroine admits that her thoughts have become a tangled mess. She's lost that spark, that raw motivation that used to drive her to pick up a brush. Her friend asks if the constant escape from the pressure is what's holding her back. Our girl sighs, explaining that while people meant well, their help only made the cage feel smaller. She struggles to find the right words to explain the burnout. She decides it's better to just show her directly. She explains how art schools force you into rigid boxes, whether it's charcoal shading or obsessing over the perfect saturation of an orange. It wasn't about creativity. It was about memorizing techniques like a robot to pass an exam. Her friend totally gets it. It sounds less like art and more like a high-stakes math test. Our girl recalls those miserable exam halls, where rows of students were forced to draw the same model from the same angles, over and over. It felt like her soul was being sucked out one sketch at a time. She wonders if she even has the skills to start over. Suddenly, her friend grabs her face with a savage level of intensity. She looks her dead in the eye and tells her that she's been trapped in a mess of thoughts, just like she once was. She explains that forcing yourself to paint things you hate just to please others is the ultimate trap. Our girl is stunned as the realization hits her like a freight train. She's been bound by this mental mess for far too long. All those scribbled doubts and chaotic fears finally start to clear from her vision. A spark of genuine hope finally flickers to life. A wave of clarity washes over her, exploding into a celebration of new possibilities. "So that's it," she cries out, a radiant smile finally breaking through the gloom. She's reminded of a much simpler time when she was just a tiny tot scribbling on a shop wall. Some local guy tried to bully her for it, making our poor little heroine look up in terror. She burst into the most dramatic, heart-wrenching tears you've ever seen. We're talking a full-on, snot bubble-level tantrum. But her mom didn't miss a beat, coming out to defend her minimi and scold the bully. Little our girl felt so guilty, thinking she was making her mom's hard life even more difficult. She apologized with her whole heart, but instead of a lecture, her mom picked up a stone and invited her to keep drawing together. That was the day her true love for art was born. Thinking about that warm memory makes her heart swell. Back in the room, her friend hands over a fresh set of colored pencils. Our girl looks at them, her eyes sparkling with renewed determination. It's time to restart the journey together. They dive into a chaotic drawing session with her friend playing the role of a big bad wolf. But our girl isn't some helpless bunny. She's thinking fast and reveals her secret weapon, a buff rabbit in full plate armor. This absolute unit of a bunny is ready for war. She tells the wolf to bring it on and break its teeth. They both dissolve into fits of giggles. The wolf gets absolutely wrecked by the armored rabbit's magic. Then things get really wild as they start a magic duel of drawings. They laugh until they're practically crying. Our girl grabs her friend's hand, thanking her for reigniting the fire in her soul. Her passion for drawing has finally been restored. And just like that, the world feels a whole lot brighter. The peaceful afternoon starts with our girl sketching the scenery. She's really getting into the details of the local wildlife. She even adds a little pigeon friend to the top of the angel statue. It's a total vibe until we see our poor heroine and her friend, Ziu, relaxing by the fountain. Ziu is confused because the square is absolutely crawling with pigeons. She asks why there isn't a single sparrow in sight. Our heroine goes into full nerd mode, explaining that pigeons and sparrows have similar ecological needs. Basically, the pigeons are the bullies of the bird world and won't share the space. Ziu laughs, realizing there are some things even our genius girl can't fully predict. She suggests they stop being bench warmers and head to the fairy tale costume parade instead. Ziu reaches out to pull her up, but the moment their fingers touch, a massive spark of static electricity zaps them both. They ignore the bad omen and head into the crowd where things are getting seriously lively. The parade is a total fever dream with massive monsters and confetti everywhere. In the chaotic sea of people, they accidentally let go of each other. Within seconds, the crowd swallows them whole and they're separated. Our poor heroine is left standing alone, looking like a lost puppy. She panics, realizing she's completely lost Ziu in the mob. She desperately checks her phone, but luck is not on her side today. She finds a spot to sit and tries calling again and again, but it's no use. Her battery is officially at 0%, leaving her totally stranded. She starts spiraling, wondering if something terrible happened to her friend. As she taps her dead screen, another strange spark of electricity flickers from her fingertips. It's not just static anymore, it feels like electromagnetic induction. Meanwhile, Ziu is at a nearby stall trying to borrow a power bank. Suddenly, a massive force grabs her and she's yanked away like a rag doll. The shopkeeper is left staring at the empty space, wondering what just happened. Ziu is literally flying through the air, screaming for her life. She's zooming across the park like a pink-haired missile. She has zero control as she's dragged toward a specific destination. Our heroine looks up just in time to see a blur heading straight for her. Her eyes go wide as she realizes the collision is inevitable. They slam into each other with enough force to cause a romantic catastrophe. And in the most chaotic landing ever, they end up locking lips in front of everyone. The detail of the accidental kiss is enough to make anyone swoon from embarrassment. They quickly pull apart, faces turning a shade of red that matches Ziu's hair. The silence between them is so heavy you could cut it with a knife. Ziu is the first to break, apologizing frantically for the aerial assault. She's waving her hands around, trying to explain that she has no idea how she just became a human projectile. She explains that her phone died and she was just trying to find a charger. She even mentions she was eating a sausage right before she got teleported. Our girl looks at her with a dazed expression, trying to process the physics of love. Later that night, she's still tossing and turning, wishing Ziu was by her side. Suddenly, the light bulb goes off and she figures it out. It wasn't a random accident, it was magnetism triggered by her own thoughts. She decides to test her theory, giving Ziu a look that is a total critical hit to the heart. She grabs Ziu's coat, looking absolutely precious. Ziu can't resist the please and agrees to whatever she wants. Our girl focuses her mind, and once again, Ziu is launched into the stratosphere. She's flying over the map again, a total victim of her friend's new superpower. The poor shopkeeper sees her zoom past his stall for the second time today. Our heroine realizes she's essentially a human magnet, and Xiu Xiu is the metal. Xiu Xiu tries to change direction midair, but the pull is too strong. She's dragged across the city, screaming for her mommy. The shopkeeper just stares, officially done with the day's weirdness. After another wild flight across the skyline, Xiu Xiu finally comes in for a landing. She crashes right back into our girl's personal space amidst a shower of petals. It turns out having superpowers is great, but landing them is the real challenge. Zuki sighs because her teleportation experiment still isn't working. She tried to send our poor heroine back several times, but it's a total failure. To cheer her up, Shenxiu offers a handmade gift of red ducktail grass. Zuki takes it, but she's still in full logic mode. She asks if the girl even understands the gravity of the situation. Shenxiu just shakes her head like the chaotic airhead she is. Zuki explains that the best way back is for Shenxiu to control her own powers. Shenxiu innocently asks why she can't just fly back like a bird. Zuki shuts that down real quick. Apparently, international flights require passports and embassies don't hand those out to dimension hoppers. Shenxiu pouts, admitting her superpowers are more like a random flash of inspiration than a toggle switch. Suddenly, she gets a wild idea. She thinks if Zuki takes a plane back to China, she can just use her magnetic field to yo-yo her across the ocean. Zuki looks at her with pure disappointment because she already crunched the numbers and rejected that nonsense. She starts explaining the complex physics of rocket technology and layovers. Shenxiu's brain is basically buffering at this point. Zuki realizes that analyzing things for her is just causing a distraction. She decides to try a different breakthrough point. She starts walking away, leaving Shenxiu wondering if she accidentally triggered the boss fight. Our girl is sweating bullets, thinking she actually upset her. Zuki stops at the perfect distance. She looks back across the room, with one savage little beckon of her finger. A massive whoosh sends Shenxiu flying through the air. She stops abruptly, practically nose to nose with Zuki. Zuki asks how she liked that speed, and Shenxiu looks like she's ready to see her lunch again. Zuki coldly lists the side effects: nausea, ear ringing, and the fact that she'd be trending on social media before she even hit the border. She's even got the hashtag ready, #spiritual power revival. Shenxiu is trembling as Zuki whispers that if she gets caught, she'll be hauled off to a lab to be experimented on for the sake of humanity. She asks for her final thoughts, and Shenxiu screams that the flying plan is absolutely unnecessary. Suddenly, a phone dings. Zuki checks a message from our girl saying she arrived safely. She gives a satisfied smile, knowing her little scare tactic was effective. It's a total predator and prey dynamic, and we are here for it. But growth environments change everything. Little Zuki grew up like a doll in a glass house, isolated and cold. Her childhood was filled with the sounds of her parents screaming at each other. Her dad was a mess, neglecting his family for basketball while her mom suffered through accidents caused by his whims. He didn't even care that his daughter's competition was canceled because of a car crash. Little Zuki watched it all, learning that family was just a source of pain. Meanwhile, little Shenxiu was living in a warm, sunny bubble. In calligraphy class, her teacher praised her talent but warned about her lack of focus. Her mom just laughed, knowing her daughter followed her heart. Shenxiu would ditch class just to play with a bunny. Walking home, she asked if acting on impulse was wrong. She felt calligraphy was unfair because she learned too fast, and she didn't want to make the other kids feel bad. Her mom swoons at her kindness and offers to teach her everything from straw weaving to chess. Little Shenxiu wanted to do it all. And now those two completely different trajectories have finally collided. In a flash of pink light and glitches, Shenxiu finally lands back in her own space. She's thrilled that her power actually worked this time. She immediately texts Zuki to let her know she's safe. Across the distance, Zuki's phone lights up with the notification. But as Shenxiu looks up, she sees a triumphant smile on her friend's face. She realizes that maybe, just maybe, everything went exactly according to Zuki's plan. Our girl finally realizes that Zuki isn't the fragile flower she thought. Turns out she's a big bad wolf with a master plan and some very evil intentions. Shenxiu is absolutely swooning over the savage chaos of it all. But wait, this wolf has a history of tricking teachers too. She's out here playing 4D chess while everyone else is still learning the rules. Back in the present, the vibes in the dorm are getting a little heavy. Shenxiu feels like even though they're together, she doesn't truly know her wolf yet. She's lost in her thoughts when suddenly, click. A wild scream echoes through the room because someone just got the jump scare of their life. It's just Xiu Jai being her usual silent, cool self on the balcony. Poor little Kyukyu is practically vibrating from the shock of the surprise appearance. Xiu Jai offers a peace offering of milk tea to fix the trauma she just caused. Milk tea makes everything better, and our girls are back to business. They start digging into the juicy gossip about Xiao Yuer and the mysterious upperclassmen. Like, why haven't they officially reconnected yet? Xiao Yuer literally moved to this university specifically for her. Seeing them together like this is basically a slow burn torture for everyone watching. One girl claims this isn't a fairy tale and real life is way more savage. She starts dropping some harsh truth bombs about childhood sweethearts breaking up due to differences. But then she admits she's just making it up to mess with their heads. Savage behavior, honestly. Shenxiu realizes her friend Care is working so hard and studying literature just for her sake. Even when they go out to play, Care is always buried in her books. Our heroine feels a bit guilty for not knowing her friend's true heart as well as she thought. Meanwhile, things are looking rough for our blue-haired upperclassman Pei Kayan. Some people are still dealing with family-forced engagements in this day and age. But the real kicker, Pei Kayan just got fired because her toxic ex keeps harassing her at the shop. The manager literally can't deal with the drama and the loss of customers anymore. Pei Kayan is left standing there, jobless and completely heartbroken. She's literally breaking down inside her helmet where no one can see her tears. She's got nowhere to go and no money coming in. Just when she's at her lowest point, a text pops up from Zhao Yuer. Our energetic blonde is ready for an afternoon adventure and needs a ride. She runs over with enough energy to power a small city, determined to be by her side. They end up in a beautiful, remote valley for some healing fishing. Pei Kayan is impressed that a freshman who's only been here a month found such a hidden gem. It turns out Zhao Yuer is buddies with the school's security guard, Uncle Zhu. They're bonding over the most random things, like fishing bags and guards with silly smiles. Pei Kayan finally cracks a smile, and it's honestly illegal how attractive she looks right now. She tells Zhao Yuer that she wants to make some big changes in her life. Even if it's just her appearance, she's ready to start a new chapter. But the universe loves to test her because her phone dings with a message from her brother. This kid is asking for a $5,000 toy like it's pocket change. Pei Kayan tries to be the responsible sister, but the brother's guilt-tripping is absolutely relentless. She looks at her bank account and realizes she's officially broke. With a heavy heart, she tells Zhao Yuer her final, desperate plan. Since she was fired and the bills are piling up, she has no choice but to sell her beloved bike just to survive. Talk about a tragic fall from grace for our poor heroine. The door swings open as someone finally makes an appearance. The room erupts because our girl Zhao Yu has finally returned. She walks in looking like she's seen a ghost or maybe just a really bad rom-com. The girls stare her down, sensing the chaotic energy radiating off her. In the background, the Chibis are having a full-blown mental breakdown trying to figure out who's going to make the first move. It's a classic case of no, you ask her, as they aggressively point fingers. Finally, one of them caves, stepping up to do the dirty work while the other hides behind her tea. She marches over with a determined pout that says she's about to get all the tea. The atmosphere is thick enough to cut with a knife as they corner poor Yu. Someone finally drops the bombshell question and the shock is real. Yu looks absolutely devastated, her big eyes practically shimmering with unshed tears. Look at that face, our poor heroine is really going through it right now. Apparently, her roommates ditched her for the holidays, and she's too scared to sleep alone in that big empty dorm. The girls are stunned, wondering how someone so savage can be such a scaredy cat. But then comes the million-dollar question, who is she actually going to sleep with tonight? She's sleeping with me, they shout, immediately turning this into a high-stakes battle for the best bunkmate. Our girl is caught in the middle of a tug-of-war while everyone else is just confused. She can only laugh nervously as the chaos levels reach an all-time high. Eventually, the lights go out and the dorm settles into a tense silence. But while everyone else is catching Z's, our heroine is wide awake and plotting her next move. She's spiraling, realizing that everyone else's relationship is moving at light speed while hers is stuck in neutral. The jealousy is real as she thinks about how little progress she's actually made. She literally cries into her pillow because life as a romance protagonist is just too hard. But don't count her out yet, she's already drafting a new plan to win it all. Meanwhile, the bunk above her is a total disaster zone of rustling and whispers. One of them is literally hanging off the edge, begging for more space before she hits the floor. It turns out sharing a bed isn't quite the romantic dream they imagined. They can't help but giggle, trying to keep their voices down so they don't wake the whole building. Yu gets all sentimental, thanking them for being there when things got rough. She opens up about the drama with the upperclassmen and her family, showing a rare, vulnerable side. Her friends listen in silence, realizing that behind the smiles, she's carrying a heavy burden. But this time, she's determined to stand her ground and protect what matters most. Outside, a massive typhoon is rolling in and the wind is absolutely savage. The dorm staff are locking things down, but they notice someone is still missing. Auntie Jiang is worried sick, knowing how dangerous it is to be out in this weather. She checks the records, realizing that one student hasn't returned yet. It's Pei Kayan from room 304 and the situation looks grim. Auntie sighs, knowing the heartbreaking reason why this girl has nowhere else to go. Her family sold their house just to pay for her brother's education, leaving her essentially homeless during the break. She's only 18 and already dealing with the weight of the world. Staying in the dorm is her only option, even if it means being alone during a storm. Auntie Jiang vows to look after her, but the storm is only getting worse. The clock ticks past 7 as the rain hammers against the glass. Auntie is on edge, staring at the door and hoping for a miracle. She's convinced the poor girl is trapped somewhere in the teaching building. She's about to head out into the chaos herself when the door finally bursts open. Two figures stumble in, completely drenched and shivering from the cold. Auntie is shocked to see them in such a state. They apologize for the mess, but Auntie doesn't care about a wet floor right now. It's Yu and her friend looking like drowned rats but safe at last. She orders them to get into a hot bath immediately before they catch their deaths. And of course, she's already promising to whip up some hot ginger soup to warm them up. The girls head upstairs, finally able to breathe a sigh of relief. That hot soup is a total lifesaver, steam rising as they take their first sips. Auntie Jeong serves them with a smile, glad to see some color returning to their faces. But then she gets curious, why weren't they on the official list for staying over? Yu explains that she's a junior high student and hasn't registered properly yet. Auntie nods, finally putting the pieces of the puzzle together. Yu asks to borrow a phone, desperate to let her family know she's okay. Auntie hands it over, knowing her parents must be worried sick during a typhoon. The girls watch as Yu dials the number, the tension in the room finally fading. Auntie asks what they were even doing out there in the first place. It turns out they were busy saving a fallen bird, because of course our girl has a heart of gold. Yu gets through to her grandpa and her voice immediately turns sweet and soft. She checks on Grandma too, making sure everyone back home is safe and sound. She promises to take care of the flowers, trying to keep her grandpa's spirits up. Her friends listen in, realizing how much she truly cares for her elderly relatives. She wraps up the call with a smile, feeling a little lighter now. She thanks Auntie for the soup and the phone, being the polite queen we know she is. But then she realizes she's starving and asks about the cafeteria. Auntie just laughs, telling her that everything closed down hours ago. Her friend offers up some instant noodles, but that's not going to cut it. Auntie Jeong decides it's time to show off her skills and cook them a real meal. We jump back to the day our poor heroine first found this tiny, helpless bird. Back then, she and little Yu were just two kids living in completely different worlds. She never could have imagined that their paths would cross again like this. But when she saw the local bullies teasing Yu, her blood absolutely boiled. Just seeing her high school uniform was enough to make those punks realize they were in way over their heads. Our girl wasn't just scary, she was ready to hose them down on high pressure if they didn't beat it immediately. She gently wipes his face, showing a soft side that she usually keeps hidden from the world. Yu is totally dazed, wondering why this cool upperclassman is even bothering to help him. At the time, she was just looking for a sign of how to survive after losing everything. To her, they were both just young birds trying to find their wings in the middle of a storm. And eventually, she did find her way to the sky. Fast forward to the present, and our girl is looking absolutely savage on her motorcycle, Ziohai. But things are getting desperate, and she's actually considering selling her precious ride to buy a robot for her brother. She snaps at anyone who questions her, but deep down, it's killing her to give up her only sense of freedom. She used to soar so high, and now she feels like she's being forced back to the ground. Coming back to this reality is enough to make anyone want to break down and cry. She takes the bike to the dealership, prepared for the worst. The greasy dealer starts lowballing her immediately, complaining about every little scratch and worn-out brake. Suddenly, a familiar sound fills the air. A warbling white-tie bird lands right on her handlebars, looking like a ghost from her past. It's like the universe is giving her a sign she simply can't ignore. She tells the boss to forget it. There is no way she's selling her soul to him today. She gears up and blasts out of there, choosing her freedom over the quick cash. Later, Yu catches up to her, practically begging for forgiveness for being such a jerk earlier. Our girl tries to stay stoic, but the emotion is written all over her face. He admits he was the one who should be apologizing for the way he acted. He realizes he was being way too self-righteous and pushing her far too hard. Then he pulls out a bank card and tries to force it into her hands. It's the money from her parents' pension that he's been keeping safe all this time. She refuses to accept it, standing tall and proving she can handle her own life. She's done being the victim. Now she's ready to learn how to fly on her own terms. Meanwhile, Zhong Shenxiu accidentally walks in on this heavy moment and completely freezes. She slowly backs away, not wanting to interrupt the high-stakes drama happening in the room. She decides to hide out in the hall until the coast is clear. Inside, her other roommates are acting like total chaotic gremlins. They're fighting over massages and bunk bed territory like a bunch of toddlers. It's a complete madhouse in there, which is the last thing our girl needs while she's trying to think. Shenxiu finally makes her escape, hoping she hasn't missed her chance with Zuki. She walks toward the library, feeling like she's the only one who doesn't share a common interest with her crush. She looks so pensive, wondering if their bond is even as deep as she thinks it is. Their texts are cute, but she worries they're missing that real connection. She scrolls through their chat history, feeling like they're just playing a game of pretend. Every step she takes feels heavier as she continues to overthink every little thing. The messages are sweet, but they lack that raw intimacy she's been craving. It's all about flight times and resting, with nothing about what's actually in their hearts. She remembers a post she saw about relationships that never go below the surface. It's called pseudo-intimacy, and it's basically her biggest nightmare come to life. They're the closest people in the world, yet they're still maintaining this superficial distance. Our poor heroine is having a full-blown existential crisis over a few text bubbles. But she's not giving up. She's going to study up and become the perfect partner. She hits the Latin American literature section, ready to dive headfirst into Zuki's world. She starts hunting for books by Borges, determined to understand the things Zuki loves. She spots a portrait of a famous author on a screen and stops to stare in wonder. Suddenly, the author pops out like a hologram and starts giving her an unsolicited lecture. Our girl is absolutely losing it, trapped in a one-sided debate with a dead writer. He's rambling about history and reality while she just wants to know how to win over her crush. She swipes him away like a bad Tinder match because she's got a mission to complete. She settles in with a book, determined to be the intellectual queen her crush deserves. Meanwhile, at the airport, the atmosphere is much more somber. Zuki is sitting in the VIP lounge, looking like a lonely princess in a glass castle. She checks her phone, clearly waiting for a message that just hasn't come. She reads the last text from Shenxiu and her heart immediately sinks. If our girl says she won't bother her, Zuki thinks it means she's being pushed away forever. She wonders if she was too cold or if she somehow scared her favorite person away. Our girl is deep in the books, trying to figure out if her entire life is just one big simulation. She's diving into some heavy philosophy, questioning if she's just a brain in a vat being fed fake memories. Her phone has basically become a portal to an existential crisis, comparing her reality to movies like Inception and The Matrix. She starts connecting the dots, wondering if the connection between her and her girl is even real. Suddenly, a literal literary ghost pops out of the screen to haunt her with some high-level facts. Our heroine is totally over this scrolling jump scare, but she quickly realizes this old man actually has the answers she's craving. Before she can get the full tea, she's literally kicked out of the room, leaving her to find the truth in the real world. Meanwhile, our blue-haired beauty Zuki is stuck on a grueling 8-hour flight back home. She's flying solo again, but this time her heart feels a whole lot heavier than her luggage. She stares out the window in a daze, trapped in a chaotic space between what's real and what's just an illusion. Her mind spirals into a chaotic void of what-ifs as the plane cuts through the clouds. She remembers meeting her girl at school and all those sweet moments that completely changed her world. But now it all feels a little too smooth and beautiful, like a dream that's about to pop at any second. She looks at those memories through a literal film strip, doubting every smile and every touch. Is she just making it all up to protect herself from the cold, lonely truth? She checks her phone for any shred of proof, but there isn't even a contact name for the person she loves most. She wanders through the airport like a ghost, feeling the weight of 1,000 lonely journeys on her shoulders. She doesn't even dare take out her phone to check because if the messages aren't there, her heart will shatter. She's convinced she's been living in a beautiful bubble that's finally starting to burst. But then a sudden flash of pink hair cuts through the gray, boring crowd. She freezes in her tracks, barely able to breathe as she whispers out a name. There she is, standing like a literal ray of sunshine in the middle of the busy terminal. It's so dazzling that our girl thinks her imagination has finally gone into a total overdrive. Shenxiu is just as confused, wondering why her girl has stopped walking and is staring at her like a statue. She tries to fight her way through the security guards like a total savage just to get to her side. Zuki doesn't care who's watching. She drops everything and collapses into a hug, tears finally falling. Shenxiu is caught off guard by the sudden attack of affection, but our poor heroine is just relieved to feel something real again. They finally make it out of the terminal, but the vibe is thick with tension as they head to the airport train. Zuki is already back to being a busy bee, mentioning she has classes to attend tomorrow. Shenxiu looks a little pouty that their long-awaited reunion is being cut short by school responsibilities. They sit side by side on the shaking train, and Shenxiu is desperately trying to think of something smart to say to keep the conversation going. She decides to let her hands do the talking instead, slowly reaching out to stroke Zuki's hand. The sudden contact sends a literal jolt through our girl. She thinks it's so strange to be this nervous when they've definitely done way more intimate things than just hold hands. Her face is basically a tomato at this point as she tries to hide her blush. She realizes she's being teased and she's totally losing her cool. The train keeps rattling on, mirroring the chaotic state of her heart. She sneaks a glance at her girl, trying to act like she isn't affected. But Zuki is just sitting there with a smug little smile, knowing exactly the effect she has. Shenxiu realizes she's being played like a fiddle and honestly, she kind of loves it. The train gets packed with more people at the next stop, breaking their intimate little bubble. A mom and her kid squeeze into the space, and the romantic moment shifts into something more grounded. Zuki suddenly goes quiet, looking a little distant as she stares into the distance. Shenxiu notices her pulling away and immediately starts overthinking every single thing. She worries that maybe her girl doesn't actually like the teasing as much as she thought. But looking at that beautiful face, she realizes she just can't help herself. She wants to be close, she wants to tease, and she wants to break into her world over and over again. It's a chaotic mess of feelings, and she's completely drowning in those deep purple eyes. Our girl is spiraling, worried that her little teasing session might have actually made her crush hate her. She considers giving up her seat just to stand by her, but she doesn't want to look like a total obsessive creep. She decides to just let it go for now. But as soon as she sees her stiff posture, she realizes the poor girl's legs must be numb from that long flight. Suddenly, the train brakes screech to a halt, and our heroine's instincts kick in as she reaches out to steady her. Her heart starts doing gymnastics because they are way too close for comfort right now. The tension is thick enough to cut with a knife as they stand there in awkward silence. To make matters worse, a judgmental grandma is watching them like a hawk from across the car. Our girl awkwardly pulls away to give her some space, but the sudden distance makes the air feel even colder. She realizes she needs to change her tactics if she wants to win her over without being suspicious. As the train sways, she tries to act casual and starts whistling a little tune. The silence is deafening, so she goes for the classic accidental hand brush to test the waters. Blue Hair is clearly feeling the heat, looking absolutely flustered as she stares back. Our girl wonders if she's doing this whole flirting thing right, or if she's just making a complete fool of herself. The train announces the next stop while the grandma continues to give them the ultimate side-eye. Suddenly, a hand grabs her wrist, stopping her in her tracks. Both of them are left in a state of total shock by the sudden contact. Our girl decides it's time to go big or go home and vows to break all the rules of engagement. She goes for a full-on romantic wall slam that has the flowers blooming in the background. But reality hits hard when they end up in a chaotic chibai tumble as the doors fly open. It turns out the old lady was just staring because they were making an absolute scene in the middle of the doorway. Later at the dorms, they walk into a room full of people ready to cause chaos. The class monitor is officially back and immediately asks for a portrait, remembering our girl painting in the studio. She mentions seeing her in the art department, and even points out a specific t-shirt she saw drying on the balcony. The air gets sucked out of the room as they both realize they've been caught in a major inconsistency. Our girl tells her crush to leave the lying to the professional and steps in. She spins a web of lies to the monitor about a private painting session to cover their tracks. Once the monitor finally leaves, our girl thinks she's in the clear, but the rest of the squad is already closing in, smelling something fishy. The friends aren't buying the story for a second, claiming the whole thing is full of loopholes. They even pull out the receipts in the form of a missing her group chat post that proves she wasn't where she said she was. Our heroine is absolutely panicking as her secrets are laid bare. Even the keys to the studio are brought up as evidence against her. Trapped in a corner by her own squad, she realizes she needs a breakthrough with the monitor who just left. She realizes she's been caught in a lie and her brain is short-circuiting. Her inner voice chat gets cut off by her friends who are demanding the tea right now. Finally, she decides to drop the act and tell them the absolute insane truth. She points a dramatic finger and confesses her secret. She has superpowers and actually turned into someone else. Her crush is horrified that she'd expose her secret just to get out of a tight spot. But then it clicks, she did it so her friends could help cover for them in the future. Our blue-haired beauty is left swooning, realizing that the girl who never cared about anyone's opinion cares way too much about her. Professor Zhu finally lets the class take a breather, but the grind is far from over. The girls head to the restroom, gossiping about how their professor is way more strict than the others. Apparently, the other literature class got to watch a movie and leave early, leaving our girl feeling totally robbed. I mean, who wouldn't be jealous of getting out of a long lecture while you're still stuck in the halls? Our heroine checks her phone to find a mountain of unread messages from her favorite source of chaotic energy, Zhixiu. Zhixiu has been lurking in the halls like a stalker, complaining that her professor just won't stop talking. He starts acting like a poor, abandoned puppy just to get some attention from his GAE. It's absolutely working because our girl can't help but let out a little laugh at his dramatics. He keeps the act going, sending crying stickers and claiming he's been totally forsaken. The next day, Zhixiu, or rather Shenxiu, is back at it, trying to be suave with a "hey, pretty lady." With those sunglasses on, she's trying to act cool while checking if our heroine wants to grab some food. She's even offering to bring back snacks, which is honestly the fastest way to any girl's heart. But our girl looks a little hesitant, like she's got too much on her mind to worry about snacks right now. It turns out the student union is already stressing over the upcoming school sports meet. The leader is laying down the law, demanding lists of participants and coordinated logistics for every major. Meanwhile, over at the food stalls, things are getting weird as Shenxiu realizes she's eating way more than she planned. Back in the meeting, our girl sees she has 12 unread messages and starts feeling a very strange sensation. When a classmate asks to go to the bathroom, she suddenly blurts out that she's full, which makes zero sense. Her friend runs off in a panic, and our heroine is left wondering if she's finally lost her mind. She lets out a massive burp out of nowhere, feeling completely stuffed despite not having eaten a thing. It turns out whatever Shenxiu eats, our girl feels the calories. Talk about a cursed superpower. Shenxiu is living her best life, blissfully unaware that she's literally bloating her friend by proxy. Our girl immediately texts her, demanding to know what kind of weird superpower she's triggered this time. Later, at the convenience store, a random guy tries to pull a smooth move by offering our girl the last loaf of bread. She isn't falling for his basic pickup lines and internally rolls her eyes at the audacity. The guy is stunned when she basically reads his mind and exposes his lame strategy on the spot. Little does he know, Shenxiu is lurking in the background, realizing their thoughts are perfectly synced. This new telepathic connection is the ultimate wingman tool, and Shenxiu is already plotting how to use it. Look at that devious face, she's about to make this guy's life a living nightmare. She goes full villain mode in the reflection, ready to cause some absolute chaos. The poor guy is left stammering, trying to figure out how he got caught in 4K before he even finished his sentence. Our girl just hands the bread back, completely uninterested in his desperate attempts at flirting. She drops the ultimate bomb, telling him her girlfriend already brought her a deluxe pancake. With that savage mic drop, she leaves him standing there in total silence. Our poor heroine is currently a puddle of tears because she's convinced her icy queen still hates her guts. While the professor blathers on about the evolution of media, our girl is stuck in her own head. Suddenly, her hand starts moving with a mind of its own, turning her notes into a chaotic mess of scribbles. Class is finally dismissed, but there's no escape as Zuki grabs her hand and drags her out. Shenxiu is totally bewildered, wondering where this sudden burst of aggression is coming from. Without a word, the Ice Queen corners her against the wall in a secluded hallway. Our girl can practically hear her own heart thumping against her ribs as the tension skyrockets. Bang! Zuki delivers a savage cape-don that has Shenxiu absolutely trembling. The queen is fuming, demanding to know what kind of weird superpower caused her to lose face earlier. Shenxiu tries to play it off as a synchronization error, but she's clearly struggling to breathe this close. Internally, though, she is absolutely swooning over how cute her grumpy queen looks while being so dominant. Zuki isn't buying the excuses, especially since Shenxiu had the audacity to give this condition a name. She leans in even further, making sure our heroine knows exactly who's in charge here. Shenxiu is basically vibrating with joy that Zuki took the initiative to get this close. The queen insists her powers are controllable, but her logic starts to crumble as she thinks it over. Wait a minute, she realizes she actually was getting a bit emotional during that meeting. Seeing her opening, Shenxiu puts on her best hurt face and confirms it was all the queen's fault. She starts fake crying, making Zuki feel like a total monster for blaming her. To make up for the emotional trauma, our savage girl demands a kiss as the only form of payment. To her absolute shock, the Ice Queen actually lets out a little chuckle and starts to lean in. She tilts Shenxiu's chin up, and for a second, the entire world just stops spinning. Their eyes lock, and the air between them is thick enough to cut with a knife. It's finally happening, and our girl is about to lose her mind from the anticipation. The kiss is soft, sweet, and everything she ever dreamed of, leaving her completely dazed. Later, Shenxiu stops by the art studio, still floating on cloud 9 after that spicy encounter. As she looks out the window, her mind keeps drifting back to the mysterious girl who captured her heart. She sighs, realizing just how deep she's fallen for every single version of Zuki. She's determined to peel back all the layers and see the real person hiding behind that cold exterior. Looking back, she remembers the times the queen stood tall even when she was suffering in silence. She thinks about how lonely Zuki must have felt, always standing out but never truly belonging. But things are different now because our girl is never going to let her be alone again. She's seen the cunning side, the dark side, and the adorable side, and she loves them all equally. Zuki has shown her parts of herself she probably hasn't shown anyone else. I like you no matter what kind of person you are, she whispers to the empty room. But then a realization hits her. Is there still a part of the queen she's accidentally overlooked? She starts to wonder if she truly knows her as well as she thinks she does. There's a lingering feeling that something hasn't been fully exposed yet. She questions if she's missed a crucial detail about the girl she loves. Meanwhile, Zuki is in the professor's office, handing over the sign-up list for the school sports meet. The professor notes that there's a missing entry on the second page of the spreadsheet. Zuki heads out, her face a mask of cool determination as she checks her phone. But a moment later, she bursts back into the office, surprising the professor who thought she was gone. With a look of absolute resolve, she signs herself up for the grueling 3,000-meter race. We jump right into the heat of the action on the track where the intensity is already through the roof. Xiu is pushing her absolute limits, looking like she's about to burst as she searches for her partner. Our girl Zuki sees the signal in her eyes and takes off like a literal lightning bolt. The handoff is seamless, showing off that incredible bond they've been building. Xiu collapses in a heap of exhaustion afterward, but her heart is full. She realizes she doesn't even need words anymore because Zuki just understands her every thought, and honestly, it feels amazing. Their friends are being absolute sweethearts, promising to stick by them through the heat and the chaos instead of retreating to the AC. But there's no rest for the wicked as the women's basketball quarterfinals are called up next. Xiu is giving it her all on the court, flying through the air for that perfect shot. It's a total nail-biter, but the ball just won't cooperate at the buzzer, leaving them just shy of the top spots. As she tries to rehydrate, Xiu realizes someone is missing and frantically asks where her bestie disappeared to. Turns out our poor heroine is currently dying in the middle of the 3,000 meter. She's trying to regulate her breathing, but her lungs are screaming for mercy with 4 laps still to go. She starts spiraling into a fuzzy flashback about why she even likes this torture in the first place. Back when she was just a tiny tot, she used to run through the halls of her home like a girl possessed. It was the only way to drown out the sound of her parents constantly bickering over breakfast and everything else. Running wasn't just a hobby, it was an escape from a home that felt like a constant battlefield. She ran until her legs gave out just to feel like she finally existed for herself and not as their excuse. Back in the present, Zuki is pushing through the agony, determined to prove she's more than just a byproduct of her parents fighting. With 3 laps still to go, the exhaustion is becoming visible to everyone on the sidelines. Her friends realize she only took on this grueling event because the class monitor almost missed the sign-up, and Zuki stepped in to fill the gap. They look on in worry, realizing our girl is in a difficult position once again. Xiu is absolutely swooning with concern, wondering why her friend always chooses to hurt herself just to win. She squeezes her water bottle so hard it might explode, unable to just stand there and watch her friend suffer. Zuki stumbles, her vision blurring as the world starts to go dark with 2 laps left. The officials ask if she wants to give up, but she waves them off with the last of her strength, refusing to interfere with the race. Everything starts to fade into a haze, and she thinks it would be so easy to just let go. Suddenly, a familiar voice pierces through the void, calling out her name. Xiu appears right by her side, looking more determined than we've ever seen her. She tells her that if her goal is to keep running, then she's not doing it alone. Our girl locks eyes with her, and suddenly their powers begin to synchronize in a burst of purple light. That magical bond kicks into high gear, fueling their tired bodies with a second wind. They hit the pavement in perfect rhythm, a chaotic duo that simply cannot be stopped. In her mind, the little girl who used to run from her problems is finally running toward a future she chose. She charges forward with everything she has left, eyes wide with hope. And with one final burst of speed, she breaks through the finish line ribbon. The struggle is finally over as the ribbon flutters away, marking her victory. Our poor heroine is absolutely gassed after pushing herself way too hard during the race. Xiu tries to play it cool, acting shy about a hug in front of everyone. But the mood shifts instantly when the girls realize something is very wrong. Kika's flushed and barely conscious, her body finally giving out. Before anyone can even process what's happening, her name is called out in a panic. She completely blacks out from the heat. Xiu's heart drops into her stomach as she catches her limp body. She doesn't waste a single second, scooping Kik up in a savage princess carry and sprinting toward the medical station. They finally reach the temporary clinic, where the staff gives them a total earful about how dangerous heat stroke can actually be. Xiu stands there in silence, looking absolutely crushed by the weight of her own guilt. Her friends eventually head out to give them some space. Xiu is spiraling, wishing she had stopped the race instead of just running alongside her. She starts prepping an ice pack, her hands trembling because she can't stand seeing Cake suffer like this. Finally, Cake's eyes slowly blink open. Xiu is practically vibrating with relief when she sees our girl is finally awake. She starts calling for the doctor like her life depends on it. After the checkup, Kik finds herself tucked away in a quiet corner of the clinic. She sits up feeling a bit dazed but mostly just confused by the strange atmosphere. That's when she spots Xiu sitting in the shadows, looking like her entire world just ended. Our girl is stunned to see her tough friend actually breaking down in tears. Xiu tries to wipe them away and act like she's just glad Kik is okay. But Kik isn't buying the it's nothing act for a second. Xiu can barely choke out an apology through the sobs. The atmosphere in the room is heavy with unspoken emotions, as the warm breeze outside only makes Xiu shiver with regret. Kik reaches out, gently touching Xiu's face and asking if she's really that upset over a race. Xiu is totally speechless, her eyes still swimming with tears. She looks down, unable to meet Kik's gaze as the guilt continues to eat at her. Desperate to change the subject and fix the vibe, Xiu suddenly asks if she's hungry. She tells Kik to get her shoes on so they can head out for a meal. As Kik gets ready, she starts overthinking, wondering if Xiu's reaction is actually a sign she's mad. She worries that she's being blamed for signing up for the race without asking. Or worse, that Xiu thinks she was just trying to please others at her own expense. Xiu waits by the door, trying to regain her composure. They head out into the hallway, but things still feel incredibly awkward. Kik suggests hitting up the BBQ street to try and bring back their usual chaotic energy. But Xiu is already busy Googling the best recovery foods for heat stroke on her phone. Kik tries her best to beg for the skewers, giving her the most dramatic pleas she can muster. They end up at the restaurant, but it's definitely not the fun dinner Keek expected. While the food looks amazing, Zixiu is acting like a total helicopter parent, stirring and washing every single skewer in boiling water first. She strictly forbids anything greasy or spicy, pushing the tasty stuff far out of reach. Keek tries to sneak a cold soda to cool down, but Zixiu presses her hand down on the can, shutting that down immediately. Instead, she presents Keek with a sad, plain bowl of porridge she bought specifically for her. Our poor girl realizes she has no choice but to accept her bland fate. But then Keek starts coughing and looking pained. She claims she just got burned while eating the hot porridge. Catching Zixiu off guard, Keek asks why she's being so jumpy and weird today, only to realize the truth when she looks down. Zixiu actually burned her own hand on the hot metal skewers because she was so distracted by her worry. Zixiu tries to hide her injury, insisting the pain will disappear after a while. She stares off into space, looking completely lost in her own head. Deep down, she's torn between wanting Keek to be happy and needing her to be well, and she honestly has no idea how to find the balance anymore. Winter vacation is right around the corner, and our girls are hunkering down in the dorm to survive the final stretch of the semester. Keek's playing the ultimate wingwoman, feeding our heroine some snacks while they binge-watch shows. But our girl can't help but notice something's off with Xiu. It's like her friend is a closed book lately, and if superpowers are tied to emotions, this silence is deafening. Our heroine wonders if she's deliberately hiding her heart away. Keek, being the chaotic energy of the group, suddenly bursts out with how bored she is. She's practically vibrating with the need for some excitement. The girls try to laugh it off as just joking around. But Keek has a wild idea, a midnight hike to watch the sunrise from the mountain peak. She's all in, practically begging the others to join her little adventure. Our heroine agrees, but Xiu seems strangely distant, her mind clearly elsewhere. She ducks out to the balcony to call her parents, leaving a heavy air behind her. When she finally comes back, she looks a little softer, admitting her parents are just pampering her with love. It's a bittersweet realization of what it truly feels like to be spoiled. Fast forward to the big night, and the hike is way more intense than they expected. Xiu looks like she's about to hit a wall, admitting the cold and the climb are draining her energy. They definitely need a breather. But then our girl's heart drops when she sees Xiu literally starting to turn transparent. She's frozen in shock, wondering if her eyes are playing tricks on her. Xiu recovers for a second, but the fear is real. If this keeps up, our girl is terrified Xiu might just vanish into thin air. The night is deep and the forest feels endless. Every step up those stairs feels like a battle against time. Our heroine reaches out, needing to make sure Xiu is still physically there. Xiu suggests a break, but she's putting on a brave face, claiming she's totally prepared for this. Our girl isn't buying it for a second. Then the universe decides to add a little spice to their struggle rain. It starts as a slow drip, making the stairs slick and dangerous. Our girl notices Xiu is acting more determined than ever. Luckily, she's overprepared, whipping out some legendary umbrella hats to save the day. Our girl is floored by her sheer determination to reach the top. But tragedy strikes in a heartbeat. A slip on the wet stone sends Xiu crashing down. Our heroine screams in panic, finding Xiu clutching a nasty sprained ankle. Worst of all, the transparency is back and it's worse than ever. Xiu, being a total martyr, tells our girl to just leave her behind and finish the climb. She's crying, devastated that she's delaying the trip. But our heroine isn't having any of that main character sacrifice nonsense and hauls her up. They find a little roof to take cover from the storm. Xiu finally opens up, confessing how much she loves running because it's the only time she feels like she belongs to herself. She never expected her hobby to lead to a heat stroke that changed everything. She feels like a burden, like she's just getting in everyone's way. She admits she didn't talk about the race before because it was her decision alone. But our girl looks her in the eyes and drops some truth. Maybe it was her decision before they met, but now every step they take is a decision they make together. Xiu is moved to tears by the unconditional support. They share an emotional hug in the rain, proving that no matter how transparent she gets, their bond is solid as a rock. Our girl watches the sun come out, hoping the rain took her ankle pain and her heartache along with it. But when she tries to reach for Zixiu, her hand passes right through him like he's nothing but a ghost, leaving her absolutely stunned. He's gone and our poor heroine is left standing all alone on those cold, misty stairs, calling out to the void. She begs the universe to tell her what went wrong, desperate for a chance to fix the mess they are in. The silence is deafening as she whispers his name, her heart shattering into a million pieces. She collapses right there on the path, completely overwhelmed by the crushing weight of her loneliness. She's sobbing her heart out, wondering how on earth she managed to lose the one person who mattered most. Suddenly, she hears voices in the distance talking about acacia seeds, and it stops her mid-sob. A single red seed falls right in front of her, clattering onto the wood. She looks up, her eyes swimming in tears, sensing a flicker of hope that she isn't actually alone. Is it him? Is he still here, trying to reach her from the other side? Another seed drops into her palm with a soft plop, and her heart nearly stops. She knows it, Zixu hasn't left her side yet, and the realization is almost too much to bear. She wipes her tears and clenches her fist, finding the strength to stop crying and start acting. She starts to piece it all together, reflecting on everything they've been through. He didn't disappear because he was hiding his emotions. He did it because he was losing himself while trying to protect her. He would never abandon his friends just to reach the top of the mountain. Everything he did, every sacrifice he made, was solely to ensure she could finish her own race. Realizing the depth of his devotion, our girl starts sprinting through the trees. Memories of them racing through life together flash before her eyes, every hug and every moment fueling her resolve to find him. She remembers a conversation about the true meaning of love. To him, love wasn't about getting. It was about caring, supporting, and giving everything without expecting a single thing in return. He doted on her so much that he practically faded away into the background of her life. He fulfilled her every wish until he became the light that burned itself out just to keep her world bright. She realized she was the one who struck the match, but he was the light that disappeared when the flame went out. Just as she feels lost, a silver key slips out and dings against the ground. She holds the delicate heart-shaped key, realizing it's the literal key to finding him again. Beside it, a sketchbook appears, shimmering with a mysterious light. It's the book and the key Zixu gave her, the ultimate proof of his feelings. She doesn't hesitate to unlock the book, ready to face whatever truth lies inside those pages. She sees the shadows of the past, the harassment and the jealousy that Zixu endured while she was busy being the top student. But our girl is savage and determined. She knows exactly how to get him back now. A magical aura surrounds her as she prepares to dive into his world. She literally enters the pages of the sketchbook, merging with the drawings he made of her. She wanders through the black and white world of his memories, calling out his name. She sees his deepest insecurities, realizing he felt like there was a massive distance between an art student like him and a top student like her. He felt like his dreams were an extravagant luxury he didn't deserve to hold. But our girl is right there to tell him she saw everything and she isn't letting him give up. She hands him a rainbow pen, telling him to use his talent as a weapon to carve out his own path. The scene shifts to the joy of graduation, papers flying everywhere as they finally break free from the past. Back in the present, rumors are flying that a certain someone got rejected, but our girl sees Zixu just standing there waiting for her. She rushes toward him, her heart pounding with every step as she closes the distance. Finally, they're reunited in a chaotic, beautiful mess, ready to finish the punishment game together. This time, she's holding on tight and never letting go. Shenxiu is pouring her heart into her duckbill rabbit project, hoping to finally impress the board. She's ready to explain the mechanics, but Director Wang immediately shuts her down with zero hesitation. This greedy guy doesn't care about art. He just wants to know how many gacha pulls and monthly fees he can squeeze out of the players. When our girl reminds him it was supposed to be an independent buyout game, he loses his cool and tells her to redo the whole thing. He slams the proposal down like it's trash, leaving her beloved project in total limbo. Inside the main office, Wang is busy kissing up to the high-ranking MS, Zhu. He hands over the financial reports with a shaky hand, while the woman in the chair looks like she's a million miles away. It turns out this is Zuki, and she's currently processing the fact that she just time-traveled 10 years into the future. Wang suggests cutting the R&D for failing projects to save money, and Shenxiu overhears that her dream is officially on the chopping block. Our poor heroine peeks through the blinds, her heart sinking as she realizes she's about to be jobless. Desperate to save her work, she runs into an assistant outside. She learns that the big boss from the head office is right inside, and decides to hide out in the break room to gather her courage. She figures if she can just talk to MS, Zhu, she can save the studio. But as she turns around with a steaming cup of cocoa, disaster strikes. She slams right into a woman, and the boiling chocolate ends up all over a very expensive white shirt. Panicking, Shenxiu tries to help by unbuttoning the shirt. But someone slips on the mess. In a total chaotic blur, Shenxiu ends up pinning the woman to the floor in the most awkward position possible. She starts apologizing profusely, only to realize the woman beneath her is none other than her old acquaintance, Zuki. Zuki looks absolutely stunned and a little bit savage as she stares back. Shenxiu tries to play it cool, holding her hand and mentioning it's been 10 years since they last met. But Zuki isn't in the mood for a friendly reunion and suddenly pulls her close. She mocks Shenxiu's dreaming and pins her wrists down. The tension is through the roof as Zuki leans into her neck. Our girl is totally flustered, especially when Zuki brings up a kiss from their high school graduation. Shenxiu tries to argue that since she unbuttoned Zuki's shirt, they should just call it even. She gets bold and tells Zuki that if she wants to take advantage of her, she should just go ahead and kiss her. Zuki finds the idea of being even hilarious, and mentions she still has a score to settle from a last dream. Just as things are getting spicy, the assistant walks in. Zuki doesn't miss a beat, barking at her to get out and shut the door. Shenxiu is left trembling, wondering what's about to happen. Zuki decides to fish in troubled waters and leaves a very clear mark on Shenxiu's neck. Later, our heroine walks back to the studio looking like she's seen a ghost. She ducks into the bathroom to hide her shame, while her coworkers gossip about why she looks so flushed and out of breath. Looking in the mirror, Shenxiu is mortified by the bite marks. She can't believe Zuki actually went that far, leaving her feeling guilty and totally confused about their past. Our girl is struggling to cover up the evidence of that wild night, peeling back bandages because she literally can't be around people without them. Even though she hates to admit it, looking at those marks on her neck makes her heart do a complete somersault. Her chest is literally going ba-thump as she realizes she actually didn't hate the way things went down. She swoons over the memory of that kiss, admitting that her savage partner's touch wasn't so bad after. It felt like tasting ice-cold lychees on a blistering summer day, sweet and fragrant against her lips. Zixu leans into the embrace and the dream, feeling the hate rise. But then things get spicy when the licking starts, making our heroine tremble. She begs her to stop because it tickles, but the tension is absolutely chaotic. Then comes the bite and suddenly the vibe shifts from sweet to dangerously intense. Our poor heroine is shaking, calling out her name as the dream gets more and more vivid. Zuki realizes that in this dream world, Zixu hasn't forgotten them, she's just distorted her memory. She decides to seize the opportunity to enjoy this beautiful, albeit confusing, dream to the fullest. Cut to the next morning, and our girl is walking out of the bathroom looking like a total mummy. Her coworkers are absolutely floored, demanding to know why she's covered in bandages in such specific places. One of them clearly has a dirty mind, imagining some very R-rated scenarios behind that pixelated thought bubble. Zixu has to lie through her teeth, claiming she just has a super stiff neck. They actually buy it, though they thought the boss might have literally beaten her up. Little do they know she was bullied just by the boss's boss in a way they'd never guess. But the drama doesn't stop there because the landlord is threatening to cut the water and electricity if the rent isn't paid. Our girl clenches her fist, determined not to let her game project get cancelled for the sake of her team. She puts on a brave face, promising her crew that they'll definitely get their payment by the end of the month. She's ready to turn the tables, convinced that if she can just defeat the big boss, everything will be fine. She is totally focused on finishing off her rival once and for all. Meanwhile, the big boss Zuki is stuck in the most boring part of any dream, actual office work. She's signing off on financial documents like a total pro, wondering why a dream would involve so much paperwork. She's spinning her pen in frustration, questioning the reality of this entire situation. I mean, do dreams usually come with binding financial contracts? Her biggest concern is that Zixu has vanished again, leaving her alone in this corporate nightmare. She looks out at the office, feeling the void where our heroine should be. She's stuck in endless meetings while her girl hasn't been spotted for days. She starts spiraling, wondering if she's trapped in some weird parallel universe. The idea that she'd attack a total stranger like the 28-year-old Zixu seems totally impossible. She panics in chibai form, screaming that this has to be a dream. But then she gets a sharp look in her eyes as she senses something. She remembers that in previous dream encounters, no one else ever showed up besides her and Zixu. The office gossip is reaching a boiling point, with employees convinced the boss is about to go on a firing spree. One shady assistant is busy leaking info on her phone. She's giving out pro tips on how to corner Zuki in the basement garage after her meetings. Zixu is already down there, lurking by the cars and wondering why she ever blocked that contact. She spots the boss walking through the garage like she owns the place. Our girl jumps out to discuss the game, nearly giving Zuki a literal heart attack. Zuki quickly releases her, feeling a bit awkward about the sudden physical contact. Zixu is all business, wanting to talk about the project, so the boss tells her to just get in the car. Our heroine doesn't need to be told twice and hops right in. They peel out of the garage, heading into the city. Zuki is skeptical, wondering if Zixu even knows how to drive in a dream if she doesn't have a license in real life. She decides to test the waters, asking if Zixu believes she has actual superpowers. Our girl is surprisingly supportive, shouting that of course she believes her. But when Zuki gets excited, Zixu drops a savage truth bomb. She thinks the superpower is just the boss's ability to make tons of money. Inside the car, the tension is thick enough to cut with a knife as the girls head toward their destination. Our poor heroine is frantically checking her character designs, wondering if her choices are actually hitting the mark. She's obsessing over the wolf and rabbit dynamic, hoping this project actually takes off. But things get awkward fast in the elevator when she gets caught staring through the mirrored wall. Her inner monologue is a total chaotic mess, as she realizes her discreet peeking was totally visible. She tries to play it cool by calling her boss Key, but that only makes the vibe even more strained. They start bickering over whether the game's villain should be a wolf or a rabbit, because apparently that's the most important thing right now. Our girl follows her like a lost puppy, trying to explain her creative vision. She even suggests swapping the boss for a fox, thinking she's being helpful. Big mistake, boss key snaps looking like she's about to breathe fire. She swipes her card and storms into her office without a second glance. And then bam, the door is slammed right in our girl's face. She stands there in total shock, wondering what she even did wrong this time. Seriously, the boss's temper is more unpredictable than a gacha game. Our heroine looks absolutely defeated, staring at the closed door with puppy dog eyes. She leans against the wall, reminiscing about when they were just ordinary classmates back in high school. She feels totally lost, worrying that she's being pushed away for good. It's a tragic artistic separation that has her heart sinking into her shoes. Meanwhile, on the other side of the door, Zuki is having a total meltdown of her own. She's pouting and playing with her hair, annoyed that she isn't being taken seriously. She feels like her feelings are just a joke to everyone else. But then the guilt starts to kick in, and she wonders if locking our girl out was a bit too savage. She starts twisting her hair into knots, her brain going a mile a minute. She's actually fuming that our heroine suggested replacing the wolf in the game. With a heavy sigh, she realizes she can't stay mad forever. She finally decides to be the bigger person and opens the door to forgive her. But the joke's on her because the hallway is completely empty. Our girl has already vanished. While the boss is moping, our girl is already on a mission across town. She's gone full overbearing CEO mode and ordered 999 roses to win her back. She even made sure to include a cute little plushie right in the middle of the massive bouquet. She's standing there looking all poetic, thinking about how roses represent love and all that jazz. She gets lost in thought about how you have to remove the thorns before you can truly give your heart to someone. The shop owner is totally judging her for spending all her money on this grand gesture. But our girl doesn't care. She's determined to get that investment and clear the air. She starts wheeling this mountain of flowers through the busy city streets. She's so worried about the thorns hurting someone that she isn't paying attention to her surroundings. She stares at a single petal, getting all deep and philosophical. The light turns green and she steps out, completely oblivious to the world. Suddenly, a massive truck comes barreling around the corner at top speed. She freezes, her only thought being that she can't let the bouquet be destroyed. Her heart is pounding against her ribs like a drum. Everything goes white as a deafening crash echoes through the air. Back at the office, Zuki feels a sudden sharp jolt as if her soul just took a hit. On the street, the beautiful bouquet is ruined, with red petals scattered across the pavement like blood. Our poor girl is sprawled on the ground, dazed and confused. She's got scratches on her face, but she's somehow still breathing. She stares at her hands, wondering how her body managed to fly forward and survive that impact. Zuki is at the hotel, frantically trying to track down the contact for a new game project. But her heart stops when she realizes the number her assistant sent belongs to none other than Zhong Shenxiu. She tries to call, but the line is dead, leaving our poor heroine drowning in her own confusing thoughts. Meanwhile, Shenxiu is lurking in the lobby, looking like a total suspicious character in that oversized cap. She's desperate to get to the top floor where Zuki is staying, but this place is high security fancy. Our girl decides to wait by the elevator like a stray cat, hoping someone with a keycard walks by. The doors ding open, and who should step out but the very woman she was looking for. Shenxiu is absolutely shook, her face practically screaming busted. Zuki takes one look at her disheveled state and demands to know what happened, but Shenxiu just laughs it off like a total dork. Our savage queen isn't buying the "I fell off a curb" excuse for a second, especially with those torn clothes. Realizing she can't hide, Shenxiu frantically digs through her bag for a peace offering. She presents a single yellow rose and the cutest little plushie, offering a sincere apology that would melt a glacier. But the drama never stops. Zuki gets pricked by a thorn, sending Shenxiu into a full-blown panic mode. Before she can run off to buy a literal ambulance, Zuki grabs her hand to calm her down. She leads Shenxiu back to the room, lecturing her about how a tiny prick isn't worth a marathon. Shenxiu is totally swooning, her face turning a shade of pink that matches her hair. Once inside, the rose gets a place of honor, but the tension in the room is thick enough to cut with a knife. They sit in awkward silence for a hot minute, both of them feeling the chaotic energy. Suddenly, the doorbell rings, and Shenxiu jumps so fast she ends up face-planting in pure agony. Her injured knee finally gives out, leaving her curled up on the floor like a wounded puppy. Zuki sighs, probably wondering how one person can be this much of a disaster. She orders our girl to lie down on the sofa while she plays nurse. Shenxiu lies back, staring at the ceiling and realizing the atmosphere is getting dangerously romantic. Then Zuki drops the hammer, "Pull up your pants." Our girl's brain nearly short-circuits from the dirty thoughts. But it's all professional as Zuki carefully cleans the scrapes with iodine. Shenxiu's heart is racing at a million miles per hour seeing Zuki so serious and close. However, Zuki's expression is filled with a deep, lingering sadness. She blames herself for everything, thinking if she hadn't locked Shenxiu out, none of this would have happened. The guilt is eating her alive, and she's practically on the verge of a breakdown. She even starts thinking that Shenxiu's life would be better if she just wasn't in it. Shenxiu isn't having any of that self-loathing, reaching out to hold her hand tight. She flashes a smile that's pure sunshine, trying to chase away the dark clouds. As long as it's you touching me, it won't hurt anymore, she says, being a total flirt. That's the breaking point. Zuki starts to cry, the wall finally crumbling. Shenxiu pulls her into a tight embrace, letting her let it all out. She begs Zuki not to abandon her or despise her voice trembling with raw emotion. In that moment, Zuki realizes Shenxiu is using her superpower to share her true feelings. It clicks, these powers aren't just random, they're fueled by the sheer intensity of her love. Even without her memories, Shenxiu's heart still chooses Zuki every single time. Shenxiu grabs her, sensing the shift in the air. She pouts, complaining that Zuki isn't even listening to her jokes anymore. To get her attention back, she launches a surprise attack and pounces. She pins Zuki down to the floor, grinning like she's won the lottery. But instead of being annoyed, Zuki pulls her closer, her eyes full of affection. Shenxiu leans in, asking if her lady likes these strong advances. And then the moment we've all been waiting for, the two of them finally share a beautiful, long overdue kiss. Of course, the mood is slightly ruined when Shenxiu remembers her knees are still killing her. Zuki looks back at their time in military training, remembering when they were just starting out. Back then, they were surrounded by trouble, but they always found their way back to each other's arms. No matter how much things change, some feelings are just destined to last forever. Our girl wakes up to find her gorgeous CEO crush staring at her with those heavy bedroom eyes. She's having a total internal meltdown, wondering how she could be so dense while Keek playfully twirls a lock of her hair. She realizes that Keek has likely known the truth from the very beginning. Our heroine remembers how Keek has always been her literal guardian angel, pulling her out of the abyss every single time she was about to fall. She was always there to offer a warm hug when the world felt cold and lonely. Now our girl wants to follow her example and provide that same sense of security, even if she's currently a blushing mess. When she finally opens her eyes, she's met with a smug good morning that makes her heart skip a beat. Our girl is so flustered she can barely speak, especially with Keek hovering just inches away with that gorgeous smile. She can't handle the visual of her pretty CEO looking this radiant so early in the morning. She tries to hide her burning face under the covers, but there's no escaping this level of tension. She peeks out like a little squirrel, only to find Keek looking as elegant and composed as ever. Keek offers to have breakfast made, but our heroine is too busy having a heart attack to think about food. She needs to escape this bed and wash up before her heart literally explodes from the proximity. She scurries to the bathroom to regain some dignity, but when she looks in the mirror, she realizes she's been played. Keek tied her hair into these ridiculous festival buns while she was sleeping. Our girl is fuming, calling her a damn woman for making her look like a holiday decoration while she was dreaming. She aggressively unties them, swearing she won't be charmed by the CEO's savage sense of humor. But of course, as soon as Keek mentions business investments, our girl is back to pouncing on her like a lovesick puppy. She literally can't help herself when Keek looks that good. Business calls, and it's time for the big presentation for the Duckbill Rabbit project. Keek enters the room with that cold, professional energy that makes everyone in the room tremble. Her old classmate Sun Yang starts the report, but Keek is already onto her suspicious behavior. Our girl is trying to stay undercover in a ridiculous hat, but Keek's eyes are everywhere. Once the room clears out a bit, Keek gets bold and grabs her chin, telling her she's the only contact that matters. She leans in and declares herself the most important person in our girl's life. The coworkers in the back are absolutely losing it witnessing this level of workplace PDA. Back in the main meeting, the data is boring, but the secret tension is through the roof. Our poor heroine starts shaking because Keek has decided to start a secret game under the table. Keek's hand starts wandering, poking and tracing our girl's leg while she's trying to maintain a professional face. She even goes for a full grab, making our girl jump out of her seat in shock. The whole room goes silent as she makes up a lame excuse about her legs going numb from sitting too long. Keek just sits there looking innocent, but she's clearly far from done. As the meeting continues, Keek reaches out again, refusing to let her move an inch. She interlocks their fingers firmly, forcing our girl to endure the most stressful hand-holding session in corporate history. Our girl is sweating bullets, her mind replaying every spicy scene from the night before. Keek starts sliding her fingers back and forth in her palm, driving our heroine absolutely crazy. She eventually has to bolt out of the room to cool off before she actually melts into the floor from the heat. While she's washing her face, she realizes her body reacts to Keek before her brain even has a chance to process the logic. Suddenly, that annoying classmate Sun Yang corners her in the bathroom, begging to join the team. When our girl tries to follow company regulations, Yang shows her true snake-like colors and pulls out blackmail photos. She threatens to spread rumors about our girl sleeping her way to the top unless she gets a spot on the project. But our girl isn't playing games anymore. She splashes water right in the snake's face with zero hesitation. Keek watches from the shadows, holding a cup and looking like a proud girlfriend as she sees her girl finally getting savage. A sudden splash of cold water hits our heroine right in the face. She's completely drenched, looking like a drowned rat while trying to process what just happened. As the water drips from her lashes, a strange sense of déjà vu washes over her. She coughs, wondering if the water tastes bitter or if that's just the taste of the lies she's been fed. No, it's definitely not the water, it's the realization hitting her like a freight train. Suddenly, she's plunged into a deep blue void, struggling to find her bearings underwater. Her feet dangle over an endless abyss as she sinks further into the darkness. She wonders if this is the lair of some water demon, but her gut tells her she's looking for something else entirely. She turns around, searching the currents for a way out or a sign of life. Pushing off against the pressure, she swims toward a glimmer of light breaking through the surface. But when she emerges, she finds herself in a sterile room, staring at Xiu, who is sitting perfectly still in a glass display. The scene shifts like a dream, the blue hair of her beloved flowing like silk in the wind. Our girl watches with bated breath, desperate to get just a little bit closer. Xiu slowly turns her head, sensing the gaze of the one person she's been waiting for. But wait, snap back to reality. Our girl was just daydreaming in the middle of a conversation. Xiu is standing right there, looking as gorgeous as ever while our girl tries to act natural. Seeing Xiu blush is enough to make anyone's heart skip a beat. Xiu is caught off guard as our heroine moves in for a sudden, bold move. In a moment of pure chaotic energy, our girl scoops Xiu up like a prized trophy. Xiu flusteredly reminds her that they actually have a very important meeting to attend. And let's not forget the fancy party they have to dress up for tonight. Our girl blows a kiss, promising to be on her best behavior, though we all know that's a lie. The dinner party is in full swing, dripping with high society drama and expensive champagne. The vultures are already circling, whispering about the young CEO of the Zhu family finally finding a girlfriend. Our girl is feeling herself in her suit, acting like a little delicate flower among the thorns. But the mood is ruined when some entitled jerk mistakes her for a waiter. He starts barking orders, demanding a bowl of pork like he owns the place. Our heroine is genuinely confused, wondering if this guy is actually serious right now. His annoying girlfriend chimes in, threatening her with the consequences of offending the Chen family. Instead of throwing hands, our girl decides to play along just to see how far this goes. But before she can move, a sharp heel clicks onto the floor and a protective hand lands on her shoulder. The rude couple's faces go pale as they realize they just messed with the wrong one. Xiu pulls our girl into a possessive embrace, showing the entire room exactly who she belongs to. She declares that change is in the air and these two nobodies are about to feel the chill. Cut to later, Xiu is in the back of her car, checking her itinerary for a ribbon-cutting ceremony. Meanwhile, our girl is facing a much scarier boss battle at the Zhu family mansion. She takes a deep breath, trying to decide whether to call Xiu's mom auntie or ma'am. Miss Zhu is the definition of an ice queen, sitting behind her desk like she's about to sign a death warrant. She coldly tells our girl to sit, and the pressure in the room is enough to make her sweat bullets. Those sharp eyes see right through every excuse our heroine could possibly dream up. The matriarch expresses her disappointment, thinking our girl was actually mature enough for her daughter. Then comes the classic move. She slides a blank check across the desk and demands she leave Xiu immediately. Back in the car, Xiu spots her mother's helicopter and realizes something is very, very wrong. She demands the driver pull over, her heart racing as she fears for her girl's safety. She sprints toward the study, ignoring the guards who are desperately trying to hold her back. With a massive bam, she slams the doors open, ready to fight the entire world for her lover. But instead of a tearful breakup, Xiu stops dead in her tracks, completely bewildered by the sight. The room isn't filled with tension, it's filled with heart-shaped balloons and jellyfish decorations. There's even a giant, derpy duck standing next to a mountain of gifts. Miss Zhu is just sitting there, looking absolutely exhausted and surrounded by plushies. She explains that our savage girl took the leave my daughter money and spent every cent on these meeting presents. The mom is honestly questioning Xiu's taste in women at this point, but Xiu can't help but laugh, confirming that yes, this chaotic energy is exactly what she loves. She realizes that little by little, they are teaching each other how to love in their own weird way. As the sun begins to set over the mountains, the drama finally settles into a peaceful glow. The two of them sit together, watching the horizon and soaking in the quiet moment. Our girl smiles at the rising sun, her heart full and her pockets probably still full of gift receipts. Wrapped in a warm jacket and the arms of her favorite person, she knows she's exactly where she belongs. The sun is setting on our girl's nap time as she slowly blinks back to reality. She wakes up to find herself leaning a bit too comfortably on her companion, leading to an immediate internal panic attack. Of course, her friend isn't about to let her off easy, teasing her about her heavy, empty head almost denting the bench. Our heroine tries to act savage, but she's totally flustered and just wants to move on. They head off to meet the rest of the squad, but the atmosphere stays heavy. High up on the mountain, things get unexpectedly deep as they discuss a time when they felt invisible to each other. The mood shifts to total drama as one confesses that the other loves her way too much, so much it's drowning out her own identity. In a move straight out of a shoujo manga, she lifts her chin and demands a life-changing vow. She wants our girl to promise that from now on, she'll start loving herself just a little bit more. It's a total tear-jerker moment that has our heroine trembling. but the emotional damage is quickly replaced by chaos when she wipes those tears away. Turns out her friend has been awake for a while and was just enjoying the show. She starts mocking our girl's domineering CEO dream, acting out the most cringeworthy lines about bankrupting families. The embarrassment is real as she strikes a pose that would make any billionaire blush. A pigtail braiding threat is issued to stop the bullying, and they start a playful chase across the balcony. But tragedy strikes as our poor heroine trips over her own feet. Suddenly, magical glowing vines sprout from the ground with a majestic F-wish. They catch her midair in the most spectacular save possible. The friends are standing there like NPCs whose brains just short-circuited. The group stares at the glowing plant like it's a glitch in the Matrix. They're absolutely shook. But wait, instead of calling an exorcist, they actually think it's just a high-tech cosplay prop with an electric skeleton. Our main duo shares a look of pure should we actually tell them the truth energy. The friends start debating if she's cosplaying Poison Ivy or some weird version of Jack and the Beanstalk. Finally, the truth comes out. These are actual literal superpowers. Our girl confirms it with a straight face as the vines glow with ethereal light. She explains the situation as calmly as possible. One of the friends is having a total existential crisis because physics just died and her education feels like a waste. She gets a swift chibai smack to the face to remind her that these powers are only here to advance the romance, not destroy the planet. It's all just for the sake of love, so there's no need to worry about the apocalypse. Even if historical dramas suggest that love usually leads to the destruction of 3 realms, they decide to ignore that for now. They eventually accept that these powers are just as chaotic and rule-breaking as the girl herself. They compare their lightning-fast relationship to shoujo manga, where it takes 20 chapters just to admit you have a crush. While they laugh about how inconsiderate they're being to single people, the blue-haired beauty gets lost in her thoughts. She's worried that she's an abyss that will drag our heroine down if they get too close. She brushes off the concern with a quiet whisper, but when she reaches out, she hesitates and pulls away, keeping her distance even though her heart is clearly screaming for more. Keker and Zhixiu are supposed to be studying, but Zhixiu is basically just professional simping at this point. She's taking peeking to a whole new level while our girl looks absolutely stunning and focused. Zhixiu is just over the moon to be sharing a table with her favorite person, totally ignoring the books. But the romantic tension is killed instantly when Keker slams her book shut with a loud bang. Our savage queen decides it's time to move back to the dorms, where Zhixiu won't have a direct line of sight to distract her from her work. Back at the dorm, Zhixiu tries to play the I'm so hungry card to get out of more work. But Keker isn't falling for the puppy eyes and demands a full memorization test before they even think about food. Zhixiu's brain is a complete void because she spent the whole library session staring at Keker's face instead of the text. She starts trembling and begging for mercy, even jokingly suggesting a punishment. Well, be careful what you wish for because Keker's vines are out and they are ready to deliver. The sounds of vine whipping echoing through the hallway have the neighbors questioning what on earth is happening in that room. Poor Yu Zhiaoyu has to jump in and pretend they're just rehearsing a very intense New Year's play titled The Evil Stepmother's Fierce Love. She manages to slam the door shut before their secret superpowers are exposed to the whole school. She is absolutely fed up with these 2 idiots risking everything for the sake of their chaotic lovers' quarrel. Zhixiu ends up literally tied up in vines, while Keker just gives a casual, savage apology. Yu Zhiaoyu tries to lecture them on self-control, but it's like talking to a brick wall with these 2. While the girls invite her to lunch to make up for the drama, Yu Zhiaoyu looks at her phone with a heavy heart. She sees a message from Senior Kyan, but ever since that day, things have felt increasingly cold between them. We jump back 2 hours to see Senior Kyan walking through the city, trying to psych herself up for a high-stakes interview. She spots a beautiful orchid that reminds her of Yu Zhiaoyu and reflexively starts typing a message. But she stops herself, convinced that her current self isn't strong enough to protect their relationship. She walks through the crowd looking like a total ghost, feeling like she has to keep her distance for Yu Zhiaoyu's own good. Back in the present, Yu Zhiaoyu watches the typing. Status on her screen disappear without a single word being sent. She leans back in total defeat, unable to tell what her senior is actually thinking. We dive into a flashback from 4 years ago, revealing that Kyan's home life was a total living nightmare. Her mother is constantly yelling, and she's forced to scrub pans like a servant while being treated as an afterthought. Kyan learned early on that if she wanted to survive, she had to hide every single emotion behind a blank mask. One night, while she was desperately trying to finish test prep at 2 a.m., her grandmother stormed in to scream at her for keeping the light on. The old woman literally grabs her papers, calling her a worthless girl who should have just quit school to make the family money. Even her father only defends her grades because they give him bragging rights at his office. They eventually decide to dump her in a boarding school just to get her out of their sight. The nightmare followed her there, as a classmate informed her that her parents were causing a massive scene at the dorms. They were demanding a refund because they found out she had left school with someone, meaning Yu Zhiaoyu. Realizing her toxic family is about to target her only friend, Kayan makes the ultimate heartbreaking sacrifice. She decides to block Yu Zaiyu and delete every trace of her to ensure the family can't find her and get her expelled. She even agrees to transfer to a low-tier private school just because they offer a cash bonus that will keep her parents quiet. She looks at her empty desk, knowing she's trading her academic future for Yu Zaiu's safety. As she leaves, she realizes that even if they never meet again, Yu Zaiyu was the first and only ray of light in her dark life. Yu desperately dials the number, but all she gets is a cold, automated voice saying the subscriber is unavailable. She tries again and again as the sun goes down, but the silence from the other end is deafening. Standing alone in the shadows, our poor girl feels like her entire world is shrinking. She stares at the tiny Zephyranth's plant, the last living connection she has to her senior. This orchid was supposed to be a symbol of hope, but now it's just a cruel reminder of a sudden disappearance. She can't believe she was just left behind like a piece of discarded luggage. It's a savage realization that the person she trusted most has vanished into thin air. The tears finally spill over as she breaks down, sobbing into her hands in the middle of the woods. But then, a spark of chaotic determination lights up her eyes because she refuses to let this be the end. She vows to search every university and every city until they are reunited. 4 long years flash by, and we see our senior looking absolutely drained, crushed by the weight of job hunting and failed interviews. She scrolls through old, heart-wrenching messages from Yu, her hands trembling at the digital ghosts of their past. Every "I miss you" and every unanswered check-in feels like a fresh dagger to the chest. The longing is so intense it's physically painful, leaving her gasping for air in her lonely apartment. She's at her total breaking point, the isolation finally catching up to her in the quiet hallway. Leaning against the wall, she lets her guard drop, admitting to the shadows that she misses her more than words can say. She whispers the truth into the empty air, wishing for a miracle she doesn't think she deserves. Just as the tears start to fall again, she completely loses it, overwhelmed by the what-ifs of their lost time. Suddenly, a voice cuts through her grief. It's the one voice she never thought she'd hear again. Yu charges in like a whirlwind, pinning her with a fierce hug and demanding to know why she ghosted her for so long. Our senior is stunned, barely able to find her breath as her past and present collide in the most chaotic way. Before she can even mutter an excuse, Yu goes in for the kill, sealing her lips in a passionate, long-awaited kiss. Her heart does a massive thump, skipping beats as the world around them simply ceases to exist. The intensity is off the charts, every touch sending electric shocks through her exhausted system. Yu grips her wrist with a desperate strength, as if terrified she'll vanish back into the crowd if she lets go for even a second. This feeling of being wanted so fiercely is almost too much to handle after years of silence. It's a beautiful, suffocating kind of love that demands a total surrender. We transition to a much happier scene under the golden, fluttering leaves of ginkgo trees. Yu reaches out, gently plucking a stray leaf from her senior's hair in a move that makes us absolutely swoon. They share a cheeky, hidden moment behind the foliage, the air thick with sweet, romantic tension. Taking a peaceful stroll through the fields, it's clear they've finally found their rhythm again. Our senior feels a sense of safety she hasn't known in years, feeling inexplicably secure by her side. Yu spots some horsetails and gets that playful, savage glint in her eye. She turns around to find Yu being a total, adorable dork. Crouching down to prepare a little surprise, she pops up with the plants looking like little green ears, making our girl burst into fits of genuine giggles. It's the kind of pure, wholesome moment that makes all the previous drama feel like a distant memory. Yu starts nerding out about her biology major, proving she's still the same sweet plant lover at heart. But the real shocker comes when Yu reveals she skipped grades and worked herself to the bone just to find her at this specific university. Our senior is completely floored by the sheer scale of the sacrifice Yu made just for a chance to see her again. Yu takes her hand, her touch soft but filled with an unbreakable promise. She declares that this time, she's going to tie her down so she can never run away again. She slides a handmade rain lily ring onto her finger, a symbol of a love that only blooms after the harshest rain. Our girl is absolutely overwhelmed with joy, throwing herself into Yu's arms and shouting her love for the whole world to hear. They melt into a deep, emotional embrace, the 4 years of pain finally washing away in the autumn breeze. In this moment, she realizes she loves every single chaotic, devoted piece of the girl who never gave up on her. Our poor heroine wakes up feeling like she's been hit by a truck after a brutal all-nighter. Her mouth is like a desert, and she's convinced her body is officially too old for this academic torture. She wobbles out of bed, barely holding it together. She wonders why the dorm's so quiet, only to realize it's already mid-afternoon. But when she checks her phone, her heart nearly stops. She has nearly 300 unread messages, and the panic starts to set. She lets out a scream that could wake the dead, realizing her life is basically over. Her friend Kyukyu rushes in, thinking there's been a murder or a massive fault. Our girl is a sobbing mess, barely able to speak through the tears. Kyukyu tries to offer medicine, assuming she's physically hurt. But the truth is much worse. She shows her the phone, revealing that the entire internet has found out about their non-existent show. The voting link went viral, and now thousands of people are expecting a performance that doesn't exist. Our heroine's soul literally leaves her body at the thought of the impending disaster. Thankfully, Kyukyu has a plan to save their reputations. She's scavenged a mountain of random props and costumes from the drama department. It's a chaotic mess of frog suits and toy swords, but it's all they've got to work with. The pink-haired girl is riddled with guilt, apologizing for letting things get this out of hand. But there's no time for self-pity. They're going to have to fake it till they make it. Fast forward to the big night, and the crew is backstage at the massive auditorium. Peeking through the curtains, our girl realizes the house is packed. The sight of all those people makes her knees buckle with stage fright. She's shaking like a leaf, wondering how she got talked into this. Suddenly, a warm hand grabs hers, grounding her in the moment. Her friend tells her to just imagine the audience is a bunch of harmless dolls. It's a sweet gesture that takes her back to all the times she's had to perform in the past. She holds on tight, finding the courage to face the spotlight. With a newfound smile, she's ready to give them a show they'll never forget. They share one last moment of solidarity before the curtains rise. It's time to get dressed and face the music. The lights click on and the chaos begins. The play kicks off with the Wicked Queen demanding to know who the fairest in the land is. She's really selling the drama, asking her magic mirror for the truth. The mirror, played by a very unenthusiastic friend, begrudgingly reveals that Snow White is the winner. The mirror is clearly over the Queen's daily vanity sessions and threatens to quit on the spot. The Queen has to beg her not to run away, totally breaking character. She demands a live broadcast of Snow White's escape. We cut to our heroine, Snow White, looking absolutely miserable as she flees through the cardboard forest. She's hurrying for her life, or at least that's what the script says. The mirror calls the Queen wicked for making the poor girl run for her life. But the Queen argues that cleaning the castle is just a standard chore. She claims it's basically just physical fitness training, no different from school. The audience is dead silent, processing this bizarre logic. The actors try to hush each other as the plot goes completely off the rails. The crowd actually starts to get into the savage commentary. The Queen asks the mirror to adjust the surveillance camera to find the princess. That's when a suspicious figure emerges from the shadows. It's the hunter, rocking a fake mustache and plotting to take Snow White's heart to climb the social ladder. The Queen is horrified, claiming she only wanted to win Snow White's heart emotionally, not literally. She rushes off to save her princess from the bumbling assassin. The hunter strikes, cornering Snow White with an axe. Our girl lets out a dramatic act as she's caught. But wait, the hunter is the one who's terrified. Snow White rips off her sleeves to reveal she's absolutely shredded. Turns out all those chores the Queen assigned made her the most swole princess in history. Our poor heroine is shook because her wicked stepmother actually sent a hunter to take her out. She realizes her only choice is to pull a runner and find a land where the henchmen can't find her. But wait, when did our girl get so absolutely shredded? She's out here hitting hup with a six-pack that would make a gym bro weep. She sprints through the desert like a high-speed engine. Finally, she hits the neighboring country in one burst, thanking her stepmother for the insane cardio training. But things get weird when she finds a maid sleeping on the job. And then she spots a Maleficent lookalike about to lay a kiss on a sleeping princess. Our girl isn't having it and screams for her to shut her mouth. She dives in to stop the godmother from doing the unthinkable. Seriously, what is happening in this castle? The godmother is totally caught red-handed and looks terrified. She claims she's just the girl's godmother and actually loves her. Apparently, she tried to protect her from a curse she placed herself years ago. Talk about a chaotic parenting style. She even threw away all the cursed items to keep her safe. But then our girl notices a half-eaten apple on the nightstand. She realizes it's one of her stepmother's magic apples. Those things are notoriously sour and hard to swallow when they aren't ripe. The princess didn't fall into a deep sleep. She just choked like a total amateur because of the size of the bite. Our girl yells for the godmother to perform the Heimlich maneuver immediately. She starts giving a literal tutorial on how to save a life, step by step. The godmother gets to work, clenching her fist and pushing upwards with all her might. Success, the princess coughs up the chunk and wakes up perfectly fine. She thanks her godmother with a sweet hug, totally oblivious to the drama. It's a total emotional roller coaster for everyone involved. Our girl watches from the sidelines as the curtains are drawn. She starts wondering if her own stepmother actually cared about her survival all along. Maybe those wicked lessons were actually vital life-saving skills. Suddenly, a massive roar echoes through the air. Our girl rushes to find a dragon, but it's just a tiny baby crying its eyes out. The little guy points to its mother at the bottom of the hill. But the mother is a guy in a frog suit. The dragon is convinced because it saw a movie about tadpoles searching for their moms. It even explains the biology of why its mother doesn't have a tail anymore. Our girl is baffled by the logic of this little tadpole dragon. Honestly, she just goes with it because it's too cute to argue with. But the frog mom doesn't seem to want the baby. The toad chief is actually just pacing because he's terrified of what happens when the real dragon mother comes looking. He's not a bad guy, just a stressed out parent with a lot on his plate. Our girl decides to take matters into her own hands. She whips out a special watch that looks like an elementary school toy. It goes Phew, and suddenly the scene shifts. Next thing we know, we're in a divine courtroom. King Yama himself is presiding over the case with a very serious face. The Toad Chief introduces himself with total dramatic flair. He's looking for justice, and he's not playing around. He accuses Snow White of murdering his daughter without cause. The king is outraged and orders his henchman, Horseface, to bring her in. Horseface is on the case immediately, looking absolutely cursed. Meanwhile, the stepmother is huffing and puffing while chasing our girl. She's about to keel over from the cardio and can't believe the stamina of this girl. But before our heroine can run, she slams right into the law. Horseface catches her and says she's been ordered to be apprehended. He even pulls out a whip to show he means business. He swings it with savage intent, but a voice booms out telling him no one is allowed to bully Snow White. It's the stepmother. She catches the whip barehanded like a total boss. She tells the horse to cool it and talk things out before someone gets hurt. They all head to the court to settle the drama once and for all. Our girl stands before the king, looking totally ready to defend herself. She points out the obvious biological impossibility of the toad being the dragon's father. She hits them with a full science lecture on genus and species. The toad is absolutely stunned into silence by the logic. He finally admits he's not the biological parent, but he loves the kid anyway. Our girl finally understands what being a mother really means. She looks at her stepmother with brand new eyes and a little smile. She tells the toad to relax because the dragon is just taking a nap. The little dragon is just snoring away, totally oblivious to the trial. The toad is so relieved he could cry. The curtains close on the happy reunion as the toad promises never to leave. Our girl asks where they're heading next, and the stepmother simply says they're going back home. The internet is absolutely roasting the latest performance, calling it a nonsensical abstract disaster. Zuki's mother watches the chaos unfold on her screen with an unreadable expression. She finally shuts the phone, her eyes cold and calculating as she processes the drama. Without a second thought, she orders her assistant to book a plane ticket so she can see what her daughter is up to in person. Back at school, the seasons are shifting and a chill is definitely in the air. Our poor heroine gets a text from her mom, who's incidentally dropping by after dealing with her brother's enrollment. She puts the phone down, trying to convince herself that her mom is just busy and not totally neglecting her. Zhong notices our girl is writing on the wrong lines, clearly lost in her own head. Even top students have their off days when family drama starts looming over them. Zhong can tell something is wrong. Her bestie looks totally down in the dumps. Zuki tries to keep a straight face, but the sadness is written all over her features. To lighten the mood, Zhong pulls out her phone with a cheeky, savage grin. She shows Zuki a hilarious comment about their relationship being like a mother and daughter, which is honestly too accurate. It actually works, making Zuki realize just how much she relies on Zhong's chaotic companionship. Zhong decides the best way to keep the vibes high is a little playful provocation. Suddenly, Zuki snaps into wicked stepmother mode, demanding they start studying for exams this instant. She even pulls out a prop whip to keep Zhong from slacking off, turning the gloom into a workout session. But the fun doesn't last long as the girls walk together later that evening. They stop dead in their tracks under the barren trees as the mood shifts. Zuki's heart drops into her stomach when she looks at her screen. Her mother isn't just coming to visit, she's at the school right this second. Zhong instinctively steps back, sensing the terrifying aura of a looming parent. Our girl is spiraling, terrified that the big data algorithms showed her mom their intimate performance online. She tries to play it cool, telling herself there's not enough evidence to prove anything is going on. They end up at a massive, empty restaurant table and the silence between them is deafening. Her mom finally breaks the ice, smiling while remarking on how quiet the private room is. She suggests inviting all of Zuki's new friends so she can give them a proper thank you. It's a classic power move, and our girl can only watch as her mom takes control of the entire situation. After the meal, the group is a total mess, with the girls sobbing about how the mysterious CEO actually showed up to meet them. Keek barely makes it to hand in her thesis on the political effects of stone tablet engraving. Our girl is sweating bullets because she forgot to print it, but luckily the class rep is a total angel and offers to help. As they walk together after class, the atmosphere is heavy and the silence is practically deafening. Keek tries to find the right words, but the distance between them feels like a literal canyon. She notices the class rep doesn't seem eager to talk at all, making her stomach do nervous flips. Despite spending the whole weekend working together, our poor heroine feels like their relationship is losing its spark. She tries to break the ice by asking Zhong when she's heading home for the summer break. Keek fumbles to check her calendar, trying to keep the conversation alive. But every time she reaches out, she finds herself pulling back at the last second. She stares at her phone in a daze, wondering where things went wrong. It's like Zhong is intentionally keeping her at arm's length and the rejection stings. Even at the station, the gap between them just keeps growing as they prepare to part ways. Every step they take toward their respective platforms makes the distance feel permanent. Sitting on the train, Keek is spiraling, terrified that they've been demoted to just friends. She nervously asks if Zixiu's mom said anything else after their chaotic encounter. Zixiu gives a cryptic answer, suggesting that some things are better left unsaid to avoid more pain. Our girl is completely lost and doesn't understand this cold, distant behavior at all. This vague state of almost something is driving her absolutely insane. They stand side by side with their luggage, yet they've never felt further apart. The moment of truth arrives as one heads for the airport and the other for the train. Even though they are both going home, they are forced to travel in completely opposite directions. At least in the Chibai world, they're still sharing a scarf and staying warm together.